Good morning all, and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting for Wednesday the 28th of September. I'd like to now call the meeting open and welcome councillors here and online, staff, and also those members of the gallery who are here from the public, along with anyone watching via live stream. Welcome Councillor Jones, who is online this morning. We've got you with us virtually, and we just note that Councillor Henson is caught with the floods out his way, and he'll be here as soon as he can. So what I might do is just now first we'll go to leave of absence and then we'll go to the prayers. Do we have any requests for leave of absence or apologies? I don't believe so, Mr CEO. No, we've got everyone today. So we'll move on, and we'll we haven't got our pastor here, so I might just provide the Lord's Prayer to open the meeting. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Okay. Councillor Duff, could we call on you to provide the recognition of our traditional owners, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge country and the land where we meet this morning, the Waka Waka land, and acknowledge the elders, both past, present and emerging. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now move on to item 5, which is declarations of conflict of interest. Councillors? Okay. Right, Mr CEO, perhaps I'll kick off. 19.2, Facade Improvement Program at page 233. My company of which I'm a director, operates an accounting practice from premises which are leased. But as tenants, my company is eligible to apply for that program, I understand. And as such, I would like to declare a conflict of interest and voluntarily not participate in item 19.2, and we'll leave the room. If we could note that, thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. I'd also like to declare a conflict of interest on the same agenda item. I own a commercial property in Nanango, therefore could possibly be applying, I'm eligible to apply for a grant. So I will leave the meeting during the discussion.
Thanks, Councillor Erkins. If we can note that, thank you, Kimberly, for both. Any further disclosures, Mr CEO? Anything you want to add?
Oh, thanks, Mr Mayor. Kimberly, can you just roll up to, I think, well, it was 11.3 in the last one. It's 17.9 in this one. We had an issue at the standing committee where 4 councillors declared a conflict or perceived conflict of interest with regards to setting up the community grants program, and it left council without quorum. So the matter wasn't dealt with at the standing committee, and so the agenda report is being presented again today. There's several options that council has if it doesn't have quorum, which is delegating, deciding the matter under the Act, and there's ways and means to do that with ministerial approval. Decide by resolution to defer the matter to a later meeting, or decide by resolution not to decide the matter and take no further action. The delegation could go to myself and then go through to the General Manager if council went that way. But given that this would reoccur today, I have sought legal advice on the program and the resolution. And to cut a long story short, I would like to note the 4 councillors, and this is not, if a councillor wishes to leave the room and stay away, that's not to defer or take that decision point away from them. But if the councillors wish to stay in the room and discuss the grant program, it's setting up a program. The nature of the conflicts were with regards to that the councillors may hold positions in not-for-profit organisations. If one of those organisations applied for a grant, absolutely, it's a clear declared conflict of interest, and they would leave the room. Given it's just setting up a framework for application, and I sought several sought advice on this program, the actual conflict is not a declarable conflict. So I'll just read this one paragraph. In our view, given the very general and non-specific nature of the matter to be decided, councillors who are members or office holders of incorporated and not-for-profit community organisations do not have a declarable conflict of interest in that matter. So 17.9, so if councillors are comfortable, Mayor, and Mayor, you're comfortable, we'll list those 4 again and then put that note to the bottom of that, so that if anyone reads the minutes and says, oh, okay, why did they stay in the room this time? There's a paper trail. As I said, it's not, and I'm not preempting, if a councillor feels uncomfortable and wishes to leave the room and voluntarily stay away, that is their choice.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any comments from councillors? Okay, are we comfortable with the legal advice that would be recorded for the records? Thank you, Mr CEO. Okay, we don't have any deputations or petitions. We'll move on to 7.1, minutes of the previous meeting. We found at page 7 where it is recommended that the minutes of the council meeting held the 24th of August 2022 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Erkins, thank you. Any speakers? Shall we go to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. On to 8.1, business outstanding table for ordinary council meeting. 39 on the agenda. Recommendation is that the business outstanding table for the ordinary council meeting be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Duff. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I've got quite a few that I'm just wanting to ask questions about, if that's okay. So the first one is on page 42, just on Jellicoe Street. Just says that there's advice sought re-earth mound on road frontage. I'm just wondering what's happening with that particular block of land, Jellicoe Street.
Councillor, what we might do, if you've got a number of items, we might let you hold the floor and we might get you to work through them one at a time because I imagine they could go across different departments. So could we do that? Thank you.
So that's the first question. If I could.
Land in Jellicoe Street. General Manager O'May, thank you.
List them out.
Oh, no, just go one at a time.
Yeah, might grab Manager Peterson to come up with this one, but my understanding, we are actually, there is a bit of work to do to get that ready for site. So I believe we were waiting till we had sold the highs or the memorandum lots to actually, and then look at utilising those funds to put back into doing the works on Jellicoe Street to get it ready for market. Is that?
That is correct, General Manager. We are keen to bring the workshop forward and have council go through the land review workshop, and there'll be a number of parcels of land there that we'd like council to consider and prioritise so we can then work out how we move forward. But you're exactly right, there is a little bit of work that needs to be done on some of these blocks to allow them to be listed for sale.
There is an expected time frame that we could see, any estimated time frame at this stage in light of the fact that we do have a housing and land shortage, Manager, to see those works completed?
For the workshop, or to bring some of that forward for council to consider?
Oh, we've got a resolution, haven't we, in relation to Jellicoe Street? Have we not?
Not Jellicoe Street, I've got one in relation.
Oh, sorry, what page are we on, Councillor?
We're just on page 42.
Oh, 42. Yeah, okay, sorry, my apologies.
So the next one I just wanted to ask about was on page 44, the application for the material of change of use for the piggery, and I know that there's been concerns about that what's happening with that piggery and that there was meant to be some road upgrades. I'm just wondering what's happening with those road upgrades. That's the piggery on Wilson's on Kratzman's Road.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. This matter's under legal action at the moment, so I'd probably rather not discuss this one in open council meeting.
That's okay. I just wondered, because I'm getting pressure from the community. So if I just tell them that it's that we can't disclose it, but it's certainly being progressed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanting to know when the contract is settled on Bar Street. That's on page 44. That's the Heisel one.
Oh, Councillor, the contract has normal terms and conditions, so it'll have a 30-day settlement period. There's no special conditions in that contract. So, well, I would just have to check the exact date that's on the contract. But, there's normal terms in that sale of contract. So we're just letting that work through. There's nothing holding up that sale that I'm aware of. So it'll just work straight through and it'll be a sale.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you, Mr. Mayor, just on the mowers on page 45, just wondering if we could have something brought back to what's happening with those mowers, maybe to the next committee meeting, because people are asking about what has happened, and I was of the opinion that they were going to go through the grant process, and I just wanted to formalise what's actually happening with those.
Thank you, John.
We can bring probably an update back to the next standing committee, but essentially we've held providing those out because we're still awaiting the delivery of our new mowers. So we are really concerned if we give away those backup mowers that we will not be able to keep up with the mowing with the season coming. So we have held up, and we're still currently utilising, and we have got those. We're just worried about giving them away, and then we won't be able to access mowers until we get the replacement mowers. We're not keen to release those ones.
Just while we're on that, gentlemen, if I could ask as an extension to that question, have we communicated that to the applicants who've provided expressions of interest? Have we written to them and let them know that there's a delay and that we'll come back to them once? If not,
we haven't probably updated them on that. We did say that there'd be an expression of interest process going out, but I suppose we weren't expecting the delays to be this long on that.
we perhaps email or write to those expressing an interest and let them know that there's been a delay in supply so that we have our community informed?
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's a great idea because those mowers are critical to our mowing season at the moment. So yes, I think that's a great idea that we could do that.
So through Mr Mayor, the next one is it says on page 47 about the rail trail development and the SBRTUA. We were meant to the following actions by the 30th of September. All those items to do with the rail trail. Just wondering where that's at.
Yep. So just on the rail trail, at this stage, I have had some meetings and follow up. As you can appreciate, we are trying to move over with the transition and the movement of parks and the rail trail over into one department with facilities. I would be honest with you, our focus at the moment has been working on the rail trail flood damage and trying to work with the committees on progressing the flood damage and also coming up with alternatives for the rail trail in different cases where people may not be able to use the existing rail trail because it's closed, finding alternative routes for some of our visitors and residents to use the rail trail. We'll be able to provide updates on the flooding grants through our flood meetings. We're keen to actually bring that in. I believe, Council, you meet regularly about your infrastructure flood recovery. We're keen to bring in an update on the parks and the rail trails flood applications through that process, so you're getting an update on where each of those applications are at. And we're constantly talking with Brisbane Valley Rail Trail in trying to progress the master plan concept and some of the flood damage reports and grant applications down there. But to date, we haven't been able to progress with the any further discussions in terms of looking at leasing the rail trail and the tenure arrangements for the future there.
Okay, thank you, Major. This resolution had a 3-month time frame to be addressed, Mr. CEO, by the 30th of September. Now, clearly there hasn't been anything undertaken for the reasons you've indicated. We have a group now who have raised this. I did attend the last meeting of the Rail Trail Users Association, and they did ask the question. They were aware that the 30 September deadline did exist on this, and they're wondering what's happening. So, look, Mr. CEO, do we need to do something with this resolution? Do we need to change the due date, or so we can communicate that back to the community group?
Mayor, well, good question. We could change the date, but also would be very willing to attend the next meeting of that user group with whichever councillors do attend or want to attend, and then give a personal explanation and talk to them about the progress way forward, if that was be of assistance, Mayor.
I think that'd be wonderful, Mr. CEO. Can we make note to do that then, reach out to the group, find out when the next meeting on, ensure that councillors and our CEO are provided with an invitation to attend and provide an update in relation to this particular resolution? Thank you, Mr. CEO. Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next one is on page 49. I'm just wondering, with the commercial lease of the Kingaroy Aerodrome farming land, when are the tenders going out? Because that's the commercial lease of the aerodrome farming land. So that it's got 23rd of September. It was being handled by Jennifer Poynton, but it just said that we were going out to tender on that one. Because I've had a farmer contact me, he's interested in that.
Yeah, again, we'll just have to take that one and bring something back. I'm just not sure around the dates on that one.
So,
Can we have a update brought to the next livability standing committee, perhaps, Mr. General Manager? Can do. Thank you.
so the next one is the Christmas trees. There's two on page 50. There's the Wando one and there's the Cumbia and Mergen, and also the Heisel one. And I know we met out with the Heisel committee to find a spot, and since then someone has removed the peg that we put in there. So that spot's, I don't know if we've still got records of where that spot was, but they've actually, I don't know whether mowers have gone over it, but there's no, we were going to put that pad there. So just wondering when that's going to happen, and are we on track to have those Christmas trees in place by Christmas time?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Duff. Yes, we have met with Hydesville, and we did come up with a suitable location. We've got that GPS that point, so that's fine that the peg has been removed. We just didn't want a peg sitting in the ground and people run into it or hurt themselves on that peg, so that's why the peg has been removed. We're just in the final stages of finalising our engineering drawings for the Christmas trees, and just in that process we have been liaising with our current fabrication section in council, and also we'll be looking at some private engineering firms to quote on the actual making of the Christmas trees. The difficulty will be, of course, is the materials, trying to get the steel for the Christmas trees and have our fabrication section make them within that time frame. So if not, we're looking at all our alternative options of going out privately and seeing if there's an engineering firm that may be able to make the Christmas trees here privately in the South Burnett. But at the same time, we've still got some existing trees. So if worse comes to worse, we may need to use maybe one or two of the existing structures just to get us through this year if we don't have all the Christmas trees, the new ones made. So we're just working through that. So at this stage, we're on track, we're progressing, and my understanding through that resolution, we're to bring a report back. So I just wanted to finalise the prices from those quotes and just bring that back to council for your consideration, because that costing isn't currently in your capital works program. So we want to bring that back to you and have a look at one of your budget reviews and see if you would consider continuing to progress with those costs to make those Christmas trees. And I think we've got a meeting in Cumbia in the next week or two just to finalise the exact location there at the hall for the Cumbia one. And we're yet to work through with Blackbutt. We're just waiting on a couple of things down at Blackbutt. We were keen just to work through where the suitable location is now that the streetscape is underway down at Blackbutt and the park updates. And it might be that for this Christmas, we may just need to do a temporary tree in Blackbutt until we can finalise the making of that Pacific tree for that location as well. So each case is probably little bit different, but we are working through that.
Thank you, Manager. I will note point 2 that council progressed making these trees to ensure that they are ready for installation in early December. Could you please ensure that if there's going to be any disruption to achieving that or delivering on that resolution that we're appropriately informed as a council, because I think there is certainly an expectation in the community that Mergen, Cumbia, Highsville and Blackbutt and all these places will have their Christmas tree. I know community members are already starting to plan events. So if we can deliver on that, that would be most appreciated. Thank you. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We may have to, with push comes to shove, we may have to get real trees. The next one is just wanting to know what's happening with the local law review. I know that's been ongoing, but yeah, I'm just keen to see that happen with the
What page are we on, Councillor?
page 57.
Thank you.
It was meant to be presented in July. I don't know whether that happened or not. I don't think it did. But
Yeah, no, it hasn't. I think we put it in operation to complete this year, but yeah, we just really haven't got to this. Probably in that area where we've had the temporary manager and the workload in that area in the planning space and that. So, I think we were going to bring it back to a budget review for because it's currently in the operation plan, but I don't think we've got a budget item for it.
yeah,
Thank you for raising this, Councillor Duff. So the resolution in June that was a report would come to the July meeting. Mr General Manager, when can we expect, in light of the things you've raised, the issues you've raised around the temporary manager, any indication as to when we can expect that? I guess from council's point of view, we would expect that this is going to be a process that will take some time if we're going to get it done by 30 June. We're now looking down the barrel of October. Any prospective information as to when we can expect that?
We've got indicative costs. I can bring a report back to the next standing committee with those costs, and if council are happy to proceed, it will be outsourced to a solicitor firm, and that's so. Yeah, we have got indicative costs around that, so I can bring that report back.
Could we also provide some I think the resolution was also about providing some detail around the process. So, what would be the process, what action has to be taken that sits behind the costing. Yeah. Thank you, General Manager.
No, that's no worries.
Stay with you, Councillor Duff.
thank you, Mr Mayor. Just the one on the petition, the Protestant Roundtable Wiener Sculpture Plan. I just wanted to know if there has been a costing yet on those wieners on that display.
Thanks, Councillor. Through you, Mr Mayor. We're just working through that costing. It'll come back through to the October Standing Committee meeting. So, yeah, I think that actually came up in the last community standing meeting that we'd bring that report back in October.
And then just my final one is just on page 66, just that one with the LRCI. There was to be a workshop. What's happening with that one? That was LRCI phase 3 extension. It says that the matter lay on the table until all projects are discussed for LRCI funding and a workshop be scheduled.
Manager, is that yours?
Yeah, we haven't.
Have we a date? Have we a date for that?
We haven't progressed. We did have. Actually, we were working on that. We were doing the community forum on this one. But that's a separate resolution. So yeah, it's probably just a matter of scheduling a workshop. We did have the one scheduled this afternoon that's been put up, but that's sort of slightly separate to this one. So yeah, it's probably from my understanding we need to schedule a workshop to prior to bringing those back to the table.
Thank you, General Manager.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Further speakers? Councillor Jones, anything from you? I'll just check with you today because I often miss you, but... Okay, you're fine. Councillor Erkins.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to know, on page 48, there was a resolution that the South Bennett Regional Council meet with representatives of the St John's Lutheran School to investigate the options for expansion of the school. I just wondered how that was going.
General Manager O'May, thank you.
Yeah. Again, this is one that we haven't progressed. So yeah, it is something do need to follow up. We've got the initial plans, but just need to progress that meeting. So yeah, I think as soon as the school holidays are finished, I will need to follow that up. I think I did say that last school holidays prior to this and that. So if we can find time in a day and I suppose try get into council's calendars, we can progress it. But yeah, apologies, that one is just still sitting.
Do we have any? Does anyone in the room? Do we have any understanding as to when? It talks here about the expansion of the school to cater for the introduction of senior schooling. Do we have any understanding as to when the school is looking at introducing such? Is this something that we need to act on promptly? Is it 3 months away, or is it 2024 or
2024?
2024. Okay. We'll leave that one with you, General Manager May. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Potter.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, this may need to be taken on notice unless we need to actually move a further motion in council. On page 46, we did discuss NATDA and giving them $3,000 towards their 175th anniversary for Nanango there, but we didn't actually receive an application through the Community Grants program for that. So I'm just wondering whether Councillor Erkins knows whether they're going to put one in February or whether that's going to be too late, or whether we actually need to move a motion through council to say that we do agree to give them $3,000 out of the community grants funding, because I do believe there is still some money there for that.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. I think we'll go to General Manager May on this one. Item 3 of the resolution does provide a head of power to provide a sponsorship to NATDA of $3,000 in 2023, but it doesn't make reference to the community grants program. So, General Manager O'May, your thoughts?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, that's exactly correct. We were using that as a head of power to provide that. That's why it didn't come back through the community, because council had already approved that payment. So that's why you didn't see it in last week's bundle. So yeah, that payment is being made under that.
Thank you, General Manager. Okay, any further? Any speakers? Any further speakers? Okay, if not, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, Councillor Duff.
Mr Mayor, I just wanted to move just on that Highsville one, that because the day that that council meeting was discussed, where the sale of the land at Highsville went through, I was not able to attend that council meeting, and I had hope, but it didn't happen, that it was put forward that those funds for the sale of that land would go back into the Highsville community. So I would like to move a motion around that, if that's possible.
Pursuant to the table, yes, you may.
So that I've
Proceed,
actually
thank
sent
you.
that one through. It was that we consult with the Highsville Progress Association as to the community's preferred use of the funds from the sale of 9 Bar Street, Highsville.
Yes, that's better. Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, we have that there as presented. Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Seconder for that? Councillor Potter, thank you. Did you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Duff?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I just think that because that land was sold in Highsville and that money should go back into the Highsville community, I think has always sort of been a philosophy of council. I'm just not 100% sure what this council thinks about that, but I just think that Highsville community don't get very much, and that land has been now sold, and that it would be a good opportunity to actually do something for that small community and say, well, you know, that money could go back into that village. So I'm just keen to seek the support of the chamber on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further speakers? Oh, Councillor Erkins, sorry.
Yeah, Mr Mayor.
Oh, sorry, we'll go to Councillor
sorry.
Jones first, and we'll come back to Councillor Erkins, then Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Jones, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mr Mayor. I won't be supporting that motion simply because I'll give you an example. Pound Street in Kingaroy, if we were to sell that, let's pick a number, hypothetically 2 million goes in there, so it gets spent in Kingaroy. I think we need to, I think there is a pool of funds from all of land sales and property sales that we have, and then it's up to the Highsville community, for an example, to make a allocation or a request to have some money spent in there, and knowing that money's come from Highsville, it wouldn't be an issue. But yeah, no, as that motion is presented, I won't be supporting that today, simply because it's too broad, and if we put it into a pool, everybody has the option of then applying for it. And don't disagree with Councillor Duff's reasoning behind it, that if the money comes from Highsville, it should be spent there, but if it goes into a pool, it keeps everything clean, and then they can make a clear application and council can decide on it like everyone else.
Councillor Erkins.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think I'd probably have to agree with Councillor Jones on this. I think Pound Street, again, would be a prime example. There are different values of land in different towns, and if the money was to remain in that town, I think it's basically one of the things that we argue against, that money should be shared equally.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just had a couple of questions perhaps for Manager Leanne. Just in terms of the land sales, it was my understanding with any land sale that we have an account set aside, like restricted funds from the sale of land that council owns. Am I correct in that understanding?
That is correct. I mean, you have a land asset register, just like you have the building register, but you have a land register. And my understanding is, yes, all of the sales of land, it goes into a restricted land sales cash.
And I just want to confirm, what do we use that restricted land sales cash for? Because I guess some of my thinking is, you know, I know there are lots of land. I certainly agree with the sentiment around the housing crisis and the need for land in our region. And I know we're doing a lot of work in that space. But my understanding is, for instance, the scenario, we've got lots of land, I believe they're in Mergen, that a community group are interested in. However, for us to be able to sell them, we need to be able to connect our council services up and potentially put in some sort of road. And I think that's a real blocker for many of the blocks of land that I have seen on the land register, where we could potentially on-sell them and they would have good value or use in our community, but we have to make some kind of investment in that to make that outcome possible. So I guess my question, to be clear, is the funds that we restrict, it was my understanding we can use them to further develop or purchase new land or new assets should council see a need for that.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so that's exactly the way we would envisage that land, that cash reserve being used. We utilised it to invest in the Trend Centre building, so that was a purchase out of those proceeds from sale. Part of it, we did look at funding that land divestment officer, so we could fund the wages to actually do the assessments. We haven't actually drawn on that as today because we've been carrying that operationally. As we said before, that Proston Jellicoe Street, it needs some infrastructure work done, and that was probably our idea, is that the proceeds from sale of land could get in, would get that, go back into that site to get it ready. So, yeah, it's really council's decision that you've got there where you do invest it, but that's generally the intention that it would be for those land property type matters and development of.
Yeah, thank you for the context. I certainly know it's been interesting to go through that land register and see, that council doesn't have as much land as available for the projects that I know our community would like to pursue without some investment. And I just think sometimes putting that money aside to allow further growth in those areas, or even to, purchase or develop. I know there are parkland areas that I'm very interested in pursuing, how we cut our operational costs and look at actually subdividing or developing them. And I know there's a couple around Kingaroy that I've already highlighted with the team, because I think, hosting houses on them is a much better outcome than currently mowing grass for the residents of our region. This proposal, look, I'm absolutely for every community in our region. I think, and every community in our region is different, every area is different, and the needs of them are very different. I definitely see Highsville is a small community that's doing some wonderful work, and I would like to see us with the Progress Association. I know we've partnered with them in the development of some of the parkland there. I really do want to see that continue, and I can see opportunities for grant funds and things to help make the community's vision a reality there in Highsville. I'm just a little apprehensive around doing this because I don't want to set a precedent that we do this for one community and then we do it for every community. So I'm absolutely supportive of Highsville. I think there's lots of things that, we can do together, continue to do together. However, in this instance, I won't be supporting this motion because I think it has further implications for council when it comes to the way we manage those restricted funds for land development. And I know there is still much more work to be done in that space.
Further speakers? No? Okay. Councillor Duff, right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just when I was at the markets the other day, the Highsville community were talking about a drainage issue they had there where the actual ambulance bearer fell when he was going to try and in one of the streets trying to actually get to a patient, and there was a lot of concern about the drainage issues, and I just thought that we could use that money for something like that back in Highsville, and that would be a good news story. But I can see I probably haven't got the support of the chamber, but yeah, just wanted to flag that we could perhaps use that money for back in that small village which doesn't get many opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the debate. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour, Councillor Duff, Councillor Potter, Councillor Otto. Those against, Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Erkins, Councillor Henson and Councillor Jones. So the motion's been defeated, 4 votes to 3. Thank you all. Okay, we'll move on now to item 9.1, Notice of Motion, Community Health Transport Program, Kingaroy to Brisbane at 95. So we have a recommendation here that Council, 1, schedule a meeting with interested stakeholders to discuss current travel arrangements and investigate opportunities to collaborate and advocate for improved travel benefits for South Burnett residents. 2, progress community consultation and costings to establish a community health transport program from Kingaroy to Brisbane, with a report to be brought to the November Livability Standing Committee meeting. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Potter, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Potter, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. My only concern with this now is we seem to have a lot of things to be brought back to November meeting, where the November meeting's actually practicable now, because I just realised we're coming to the end of the year. There seems to be a lot on our plates as well as the staff's plates. So I'm wondering whether this is something we should postpone until maybe beginning in next year and sort of go on into it then. Thank you.
Councillor Potter, that being the case, would you be prepared to consider slight change to the to your motion from November to February 23?
Yes,
You are?
yes,
Okay.
definitely, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Erkins, do you support such? You do? Thank you. Okay, so item 2, report to be brought to the February 2023 Livability Standing Committee meeting. Further speakers? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just have to flag that there's been a transport company that's not happy when they saw this motion. They're very concerned about competition that council would take away from their business. And so I just wanted to flag that. So I'm prepared to support the motion on the grounds that it's about consultation. We're not definitely going to do it. It says community consultation and costings. So I'm not going to not allow, like I'm supporting that happen, but I'm just flagging that we've already got some business quite concerned. Thank you.
I'm going to come back to Councillor Potter here. Councillor Potter, just in item 1 there, in light of those concerns, and I'll come to other councillors shortly, but schedule a meeting with industry stakeholders, including commercial travel providers or something of that nature, to ensure that we do pick that up and we don't miss them in our
Most definitely,
consultation.
Mr Mayor, because they're the ones that know the industry better than us, the travel industry, so most definitely.
Thank you. Councillor Erkins, would you consent to that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So, sorry, Mr CEO, we just keep tweaking this one, but we want to get the right outcome. So that meets with the views of council. So, including commercial travel providers. Councillor Duff, are you comfortable that we've now covered off on that?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Erkins and then to Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out that the commercial operators at present don't actually run a bus from the South Burnett into Brisbane. My concern when I supported this originally was the fact that we have a lot of people here who are ill, and the fact that they have to get off a bus at Caboolture and then make alternate arrangements to get into Brisbane hospitals is of great concern to me. So I would hope that the commercial operators could maybe look at how that can be addressed, and if that's not the case, how we can continue to do something else to address that.
Thank you, Councillor. I think certainly item 1 does talk to that, doesn't it? How we could collaborate for improved travel benefits, yeah. So, okay, Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think the one thing I just wanted to confirm with this is item 2, the part that's got me nervous is the costings part. Are we, I know because we've all been through every line of every council general ledger, there's no fat or funding in our current budget or with the current revenue that we collect to establish a service like this. And from my understanding, if we were to establish a service like this, we would be looking at the conversation we previously had was that Queensland government currently pays patients a subsidy to travel. And so we would be looking at that subsidy offsetting the costs. I'm a little nervous about sort of having conversations about this, creating a sort of a hype around, what council might be able to do, and then having to let our community down when we know that we don't have the funds to pay for this, and knowing that, we are going to take staff off of core council business, core services, core projects that we're trying to deliver to have these conversations. So I guess my question perhaps to CEO Mark is, are we resourced to deliver this within this time frame? And in terms of being clear in our objectives, my question perhaps to the chamber is, are we proposing that council is going to add another service to our already buckling budget, or are we, looking to partner with state government in getting some funding or something to deliver this? So I'm concerned that this is beyond council core services, core business, and I just know how tight our budget and resources are. We've held our same staffing numbers. I'm concerned about creating an expectation in our community that we can't deliver on. So, CEO Mark, my question is probably more around resourcing. Who would actually lead this? Who would be able to dedicate time to it? Bring all the parties to the table, and in terms of that expectation with our community, is this motion clear enough that council's not actually going to establish this service?
Mr. CEO, if I could perhaps just interject, I'll answer the second part of the question as the proponent of the motion originally. So the intention here is certainly not to necessarily see council as the provider as such. And I think item 2 speaks to community consultation to establish a community health transport program. That may not necessarily involve council directly. It may be a community-sponsored and run program. It could perhaps involve government support and subsidy. It could perhaps, but certainly the intention was to come up with a transport program that effectively provided on a daily basis transport from Kingaroy to the major hospitals in return through perhaps a minibus whereby the customers would pay a fee similar to what they receive under the patient travel or subsidy scheme, and that it would be very much a community program where the service was delivered by volunteers as drivers and support drivers. So that was really around the tent. So just in terms of community expectation, this is not necessarily to say that council will provide the service, but that we will perhaps lead a process whereby we can look for opportunities for council to partner with community or for community to take it on and provide it independently of council. That could be through an organisation, a pre-existing organisation. Certainly the intention was never, Mr. CEO, to impact on council's OPEX. If council was to be involved, obviously we would need to be able to clearly demonstrate that it had the capacity to comfortably be cost neutral. Otherwise we would obviously have to completely reconsider it, yeah. But certainly very much about community, not necessarily council, yeah.
So the first part of my question was, does council have the internal resources to deliver on as the Mayor has said, the investigation, the feasibility, opportunities to partner?
Thanks, Council, for the question. Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't party to the original conversation, so that actually gives a degree more context. As with these, we haven't allocated anyone to it. We most likely would end up with the community livability section. Before, particularly out of the standing committee now, we've been holding off until the ordinary, because council consults and then there can be changes to these resolutions. So as far as the internal resources, it's when I first read it, I looked at it and I hope I'm not off track here. It would be a high level, particularly by the November meeting, it would have been a high level report as to you'd need a minibus cost X, for someone to run it, it would cost Y, and there would be opportunities with Department of Transport to do A, B and C. Out to February 23, that's a much better time frame, if I may use that terminology, Mayor. I really appreciate that. But certainly we would have, if this gets passed, we'd have a look at allocate someone. The level of the detail, what you will end up out of the report is not a tender submission. It won't be to that level of detail, but it would certainly give an overall, probably an advocacy position as to which would allow council some numbers about what the service would cost, and then decide on which groups it wished to talk to. So long answer to your story, yes, but it won't be I wouldn't be expecting we'll be producing a detailed financial report that would be ready for tender.
Thank you. So with that in mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd actually like to propose an amendment to the motion.
Thank you, Councillor.
Certainly point 1 is fine as it is, so that council exactly the same. Schedule a meeting with interested stakeholders, including commercial travel providers, to discuss current travel arrangements and investigate opportunities to collaborate and advocate for improved travel benefits. But 2, I'd just like to suggest changing that to progress discussions with key stakeholders. To understand the feasibility of establishing a community health transport program from Kingaroy to Brisbane and investigate partners to deliver such, with a report to be brought back to the February 2023 Livability Standing Committee meeting.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Mr CEO, you comfortable that constitutes an amendment to the motion? Is it sufficiently different to the motion?
I can provide some.
Yeah, I'd like the CEO's advice. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, it is, short answer, I would believe so, Mayor. It's not saying don't do it or stop doing it. It's probably adding another stage into the process, but yeah, no, it still relates to the substantive motion, Mayor.
Good, thank you for your advice. Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only reason for the amendment is the community consultation piece. I think that's very broad, and we could end up having consultation with a whole raft of people and perhaps not actually get a solid understanding of what this could look like. I think it has to be very targeted discussions with key stakeholders who, as Councillor Duff's identified, there are already some in the region who have an interest, so that we can take something solid back to the community. I would just hate to create an expectation or an understanding that we're going to deliver something that we can't. So that's the purpose of the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Jones, thank you. Okay. Further speakers? Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can concur with Councillor Shoemaker that my fear for this is the cost to our ratepayers. I fear we're competing with commercial enterprise. There'll be a lot of people unhappy with this. If you're going to Brisbane, there'll be a day where you might have 20 passengers on that bus ranging from early in the morning to late in the afternoon, and the next day or 2 days there might be 2, and one might be from 8 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. The cost of this service, as much as certainly a great idea, but the cost of this service would be astronomical, I feel, and the funding, to be able to get funding for this, we can't prize anything out of anybody now in the State Department, so I'm just not sure how we can proceed with this, and I'm concerned about the costings that our staff will put into this as well, in the work that'll go forward to this to try and get it on a table to further progress it when we're under the pump as it is. There's a lot of work to be done in this. I guess, if there's such a need there, why aren't commercial operators doing it now? The cost to run this service is going to be exorbitant in the future, because as of the end of this week, our fuel prices will jump 20%, so everyone will be reviewing what they're doing in the transport industry, no more so than what we're proposing here. So certainly the concept of it is a great idea. The costings of it will be scary. So certainly understand Councillor Shoemaker and getting the right people to the table, and I think the commercial operators will have plenty to say in this space, as Councillor Duff has alluded to. But yeah, I do have concerns for our ratepayers in relation to this and the costings of it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Further speakers? Councillor Potter.
Yeah, Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, we know that there are a lot of stakeholders already in this, whether it be CTC, Graham House, the DVA, Centrecare, Queensland Health, sections of the state government, Queensland Transport, SB Care, Blue Care, and Lutheran Care, just to name a few. But I do realise that we will have to talk with all of these particular people and more to find out what is going on with the travel industry at the moment with regards to patient transport, because at the moment patient transport to Toowoomba is $93, and I think in Brisbane's about 125. I think 115. Wasn't last time we went, but anyway, I think the money they're paying is not bad, but I think, as Councillor Henson mentioned, with the rising fuel prices, things that will drastically change, I'm hoping. But the issue also we have is that people like Graham House, who are funded to do this particular job, they also transport the people that don't have the funds, that are in financial crisis, and they also transport the other people that don't as well. And they, on top of that money that they're given from state government, they usually have to pay another, $20-$30 on top of that as well. So, and then that's always another driver. So we really got to, especially people like Graham House, if we can bring them in on the conversation along with all the others, I think we should get a fairly good idea of what's happening in this space right now, because it's really important. We do not want people in our community missing out because they can't get to their appointments in Brisbane, and we know that is happening now.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Erkins.
Yes, I agree completely, and I do know that we talk about the increase in our population in the South Burnett, and yet our bus service, our public transport, has deteriorated, markedly in the last couple of years. You used to be able to catch a bus to Brisbane twice a day, and now you can, I think it's 3 days a week, and it only goes to Caboolture. Sorry.
Excuse me, we've lost
And it does only go to Brisbane now, to Caboolture now. And there are people who are caught between those that are on an allowance or a benefit, and they are eligible to obtain a grant or obtain funding from Graham House, but there are others who fall between the cracks and they're not eligible to get those services from Graham House. And they are also, quite often, those other people that take them down are full and you can't get on. I believe that our role is looking after our community members, and I believe that we have many of our community who are unable to meet these doctor's appointments, or they're put to a huge amount of distress trying to get to them. If you get off a bus at Caboolture, as I've said, with a suitcase because you're going to hospital in Brisbane, it is very, very difficult to then get from Caboolture into Brisbane to the hospital. If you're getting out of hospital and you're coming home, it's also very stressful. They're gone again. It's very stressful to come back. It's a little disconcerting having my discussion. But as I said, I believe that we are here to look after our community. I believe there are a lot of members of our community who miss out, who cannot get to appointments. I have had different nurses contact me asking me whether it's possible for me to organise just a volunteer who will drive somebody to an appointment, whether that be in Brisbane or Toowoomba. So it's definitely something that we're missing out on. It gives commercial operators an opportunity maybe to see how much the need is there as well, and maybe they will be able to come to the table. But I believe it's something that we definitely need to be looking at. We need to be looking at it in a hurry and not putting it off and pandering to other people's hurt feelings.
Thank you, Councillor. Who hasn't had a chance to speak? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr
Councillor
Mayor.
Jones, we'll go to you. Well, we'll go to Councillor Duff first. Ladies first. Councillor Duff, then we'll come back to Councillor Jones.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can't see a problem with the amendment. I think the amendment is just about talking about investigating also with partners. It's just adding to the whole concept. I think that if we have the discussions with the transport operators and all of the community groups that Councillor Potter has put forward, that we might be able to identify, obviously, that there's a gap and how we might be able to fill that, whether it be partnership with a commercial operator or whether the commercial operator just takes it on to do it themselves, or whether we work with, Graham House or whatever. I think it's opening the conversation, and I don't see a problem with the amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And another one for the books, mark this one down. I agree with Councillor Duff there. Look, I supported this motion right from the word go, simply because there was I don't believe we're giving any indication that we are going to do it. But if it comes back that this will cost ratepayers money, my vote will definitely change. I won't support it if it is going to be a cost to our ratepayers. Totally agree. Health is not regarded as core business to us as a council. It's always roads, rates and rubbish and water. But this is a crucial and critical service to our community. And Councillor Erkins has made some good points about how they have to travel, get off buses, onto trains and all that sort of stuff. With the announcement of the state government in the last couple of days and another follow-up this afternoon expected, although we put our shining light, it's put the light on our area, we're talking housing and roads and all that sort of stuff. This may be a good opportunity also to respond to the state government and say that our area also needs some medical and health services, and this could be something that could easily be fixed under their proposals going forward. So yeah, that's right. I said I'm happy to go with the motion, the amendment, simply because we're just looking into it. But like I said, I fully support it at the moment. But if it comes back for any reason to say that it's going to be a cost on our ratepayers, Councillor Shoemaker highlighted that we have no money in our budgets. We have no fat. We've taken everything out. So it's, so that's where I sit. So happy to support this, but my vote will change if it comes back to a cost to ratepayers.
I'll just provide some comments as well, and then we'll get a Councillor Shoemaker to conclude the debate. I think this is a really sensible amendment in terms of going to the stakeholders first. Let's have a conversation with them before we go out to the broader community and create any expectations that we can't deliver on. That would seem to me to be good governance. So fully supportive of the amendment. In saying that, look, there have been some really good points raised here today. After the steering committee conversation, I did go back and talk to people in the community. So just a couple of things. First, I brought this motion forward at the request of elderly people in Kingaroy who had approached me. I just want to share with you what they'd said to me. And I'm certainly not an expert in this space, but I can only, I suppose, share their views. The views were that at the moment there are people from Kingaroy who aren't going to medical appointments in Brisbane that they're supposed to because they can't get there. So they're actually cancelling or just not taking appointments, and they're actually, Councillor Henshaw, not getting their treatment attended to. This is causing adverse impacts on their health. That's the first thing. They also said that there's currently a fellow who is using his own car to drive 5 days a week people to hospitals in Brisbane. He's a retiree, and then I checked on the weekend, and he's actually been doing 7 days a week lately. And he's actually said to them, "Look, I'm getting exhausted. I can't continue to do this." If he stops doing that, there will be those people that have been relying on him, and apparently his phone runs hot, who just can't get to Brisbane hospitals. I also received, so I had that conversation with them around that and expressed some of their concerns. They certainly don't expect the ratepayers to fund this. What they're wanting us to do is take, as the local government, take a lead role in facilitating a conversation with community, particularly the commercial stakeholders and other community groups, around, is there a possible solution here that we can work to facilitate? So I certainly don't think they're holding their hand out expecting the ratepayers to pay for their transport. I also received a call from one of the commercial transport providers, extremely upset about reading about this in the newspaper. And I certainly did make it very clear to him that for me personally as one councillor, I would not support progressing this in any way unless we had very, very thorough conversations with all our commercial providers. We'd listen carefully, and that this wasn't going, and that I wouldn't support something that was going to undermine their businesses, because to me, that's not what council should be about. They were just my views as one individual councillor that I shared. In terms of core business, probably not core business, but it is referred to in our corporate plan. And our corporate plan is the governing document by which we run our council. Senior citizens and support for them, we have spoken about that in our corporate plan as being important. 1/3 of our population are senior citizens. That's a big percentage in our region, you know. Councillor Henshin, and respectfully, I would absolutely, object to your statements that this will be highly costly, exorbitant and scary. Why you say that if it was viable, commercial operators would do it? Well, commercial operators can't do it because of the cost of labour. That's the reality. To have someone sitting in a bus for 10 hours a day, they just can't afford to pay a bus driver. But where a community group are prepared to provide this as a voluntary service with a pool of drivers, there won't be a labour cost. So I think if you take the labour cost out of it, the costs come down significantly. I've run some preliminary numbers, and with the $130 patient subsidy, with a moderate use, I believe that through the use of volunteer labour, this could be cost neutral. But we won't know that until we explore it. I guess what I'm asking is, let's not come out and make rash statements like this is going to be scary and exorbitant and highly costly. It doesn't necessarily have to be. But I do think it's incumbent upon us to at least respond to the senior people of Kingaroy by exploring this and at least considering it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think we do have an obligation to try, because we certainly have people whose health is suffering, I'm told, as a result of the lack of transport to Brisbane. And maybe we do actually need to also call on Queensland Government around this, and ask them to step up. So, I'll now go to Councillor Shoemaker to close the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Certainly, livability is a core focus of Council's vision for our region, and the health and wellbeing of our residents really does underpin whether we can achieve that or not. I absolutely think this is a worthwhile exercise to undertake, and I do think having those discussions with the state government, I'm tired of seeing state government cost shift issues and issues that are impacting our residents to local governments across the state. And we see that time and time again with many of the things that we're trying to deliver on a shoestring. I do think that it's a great opportunity to start a conversation, and if we start a conversation, you just don't know where that may potentially lead. So fully supportive of the motion, and thank the council for doing this work. I think it demonstrates that we all genuinely do care for the residents of our region. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Let's go to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Jones, we've got everybody. Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, next notice of motion is in relation to the good...
The amendment becomes the resolution.
Oh, sorry, that's
Yep,
right.
yep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr CEO. Okay, so the amendments now become the substantive resolution. We go back to the start. So we've got the resolution, the motion as presented there. Moved. That's moved by Councillor Shoemaker, and it was seconded by Councillor Jones, yeah? We are able to open up for debate again as a substantive resolution. Does anyone wish to speak further to the matter? Or is council happy to go to the vote? No? We're happy to go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay. Next one is one more item before we go to morning tea. Notice of motion, Goodger School Land Reserve at 96. And we have a notice of motion here. Was this one yours, Councillor Potter? We might go to you to move that, if you could. Thank you.
Sorry, I thought I turned it on. I'd like to propose that council liaise with the state government to investigate the current trustee lease arrangements of the Old Goodger School grounds and to determine the suitable future management arrangement, with the report to be brought to a future standing committee meeting. And number 2 is that suitable management arrangements are determined, that until suitable management arrangements are determined, council undertake required mowing of the reserve area. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Duff, thank you. Okay, councillor Potter, would you like to speak to your motion? Thank you.
Look, I think during this standing committee meeting, I sort of said quite a bit with regards to this. We've got people that are interested in the Goodger School. Nothing can happen. The trustees have all since passed, and it'd be really good to get this sorted out and actually have that area used again. As long as we still have access to the Goodger wetland area, I think that it's going to be a great win-win for all. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Before we go to General Manager May, do councillors have any questions or wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Duff, thank you.
I just wanted to add a timeline because I'm always keen to have instead of a future standing committee, to actually do it by a certain date, because otherwise it just, is that possible?
They're actually working on that at the moment because that they've actually really started into this, if I'm correct, General Manager O'May, sorry.
They have commenced, but I think we can always put a date in there. I would probably again, given the amount of these ones that we are sort of falling behind in, that we don't sort of we allow a decent little bit of time, because this one there is going to be a bit of backwards and forwards dealing with term. So again, if you're looking at time frame, I'll be putting it into early in the new year rather than trying to push it in before Christmas. But I think you could add a time. The only other suggestion, sorry, Mr Mayor, while I had the floor was through you, was just going to suggest that we change the word mowing to slashing. Just probably clarify the level of service that we're providing to that in the second dot point, if counts.
You comfortable with that, councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Duff. Yes.
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Is there any, General Manager May, your thoughts on inserting a date then? Do we leave it as a future meeting or? Okay. February, Councillor Potter. Okay. Councillor Duff.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kimberly. Okay. Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just actually thinking that perhaps March would be more suitable, being with the Christmas period and the fact that everything sort of shuts down. I can see with all the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, we're comfortable with March? Yeah, okay, good. We'll change it to March. Thank you.
My other question or thinking around this is, and I'm not sure whether it needs to be in the motion, however, Stanwell Corporation, formerly Tarong Energy, brought a hell of a lot of land out there around the Canoon and Goodger area. And to progress the Canoon mine, which did never progress, I do think there's been enormous change in that community because of that decision. And I do think there are stakeholders in that area, and particularly Stanwell, that should be involved or that we should reach out to and have some conversations with in relation to this piece of land and how they envisage supporting that community after such significant disruption in the past. I think there's much work to be done in that community in terms of healing what had been done previously under previous governments and previous decisions. And I guess my thinking is that perhaps we should also actively liaise with Stanwell because the reality is they do own most of that Goodger area now. And I would like to see, I think, as the good corporate citizen that they are, that we have some conversations with them around how or what they may be able to do to support that community into the future. So I guess my thinking was to amend the motion to include liaise with the state government and Stanwell Corporation to investigate the current leasing arrangements of Old School. Perhaps it's another point, sorry, it's not that they would be a lease arrangement, but I do just think they're a stakeholder that we should continue
Kimberly,
leave
perhaps we could just, because the current lease arrangements, Goldger School Grounds, and perhaps we put an and in there, do we? And engage with Stanwell
Yes.
as to options for their involvement
Yes,
in.
thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yes. Thank you, councillor. Mr CEO, can we just take that as a minor change with the consent of the, councillors Potter and Duff?
Yeah, I actually think that should be a third point because it really has nothing to do with the Goodger School. That actually has to do with other areas that Stanwell own. Sorry, Mr Mayor. So this particular motion was brought forward because of the state of the Goodger School, and I think that Councillor Shoemaker's got a great idea, and I do think that maybe they should be brought into the conversation, but that's it should be actually as its own third point, Mr Mayor.
Okay, so, we'll just put this on the screen. We'll go back to councillors. Let's cut out engage. Yeah. Yep, that's fine. And maybe we just leave it engage with Stanwell as to options for their involvement, full stop. Happy with that? We keep that as an open book with that conversation. You happy with that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Did you want to mention in there, Councillor Shoemaker, something to do with the land that Stanwell have out there, whether that could be brought into some of this conversation that council is having with the people involved or not?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, I just think they're a key party or key stakeholder. They own significant land holdings in the area. They too have relationships with many of the former trustees who have passed away, and the only surviving trustee Mr. Goodger. So I just feel that they're an important stakeholder, and that it could offer opportunities to. I know we've had some proposals brought forward around the opportunity to develop that site or use it for other community needs and uses, and I just think it would be good to open up the conversation. So no, I'm happy just with the motion to have them engaged in the process.
Thank you, councillor. Just confirming, councillors Potter and councillor Duff.
Yes,
comfortable
thank you.
with the
I agree,
change to
Mr.
the
Mayor,
motion?
thank you.
Good,
Yes,
thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor.
So, councillor, we have now the motion as presented. Further speakers? Okay, so we'll take this as a substantive motion. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour, carried unanimously. I'll now move that we adjourn for morning tea. Seconded by councillor Henson. Thank you. Those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you all. Do we have a second? Thank you, councillor Henson. Those in favour, carried by all. Have we got councillor Jones online? You there, councillor Jones?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm here. Yep, all in favour.
Thank you. Okay, we are up to 10.1. Council Standing Committees in terms of reference at 97, where the committee has recommended that South Bennett Regional Council adopt the following standing committee structure pursuant to section 264 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 as presented. Item 2, portfolio matters to be discussed at each standing committee as presented. And 3, amend the following terms of reference to reflect the change structure and number of standing committees: Infrastructure Standing Committee, Executive and Community Standing Committee, and Finance and Corporate Standing Committee have the terms of reference changed to reflect such. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, a seconder? Councillor Erkins, thank you. Speakers? Anything to add from your perspective, Mr. CEO?
Thanks, man. Not in regards to the resolution itself. It's just a transition, given what date the meeting is today. The October committee meetings are pretty much as set. We've also got LGAQ State Conference, which has pushed livability and executive together. We're seeing the same trend with livability that we have for a little while now, that livability is going to be a massive agenda. So with council's relief, given the intent of this resolution, so the intent of this resolution will take full effect by November, because we will need to change the software or the categories in the software. But I will, with council's consent, start to move some of the reports out of livability that may actually be able to go into infrastructure. It probably won't be a lot, but if I can lighten a little bit of the livability agenda and put them into infrastructure. So we're going to have a bit of a look. So you may see a little bit of a blend as we transition across for this next month, and then go from there and be fully operational in November.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Fully supportive of the proposal. I actually just think I really enjoy these committee meetings. I think it's a really great opportunity when I think about where we started, where we just had the general and portfolios and workshops and things, and where we are now. I just think this is a great opportunity for us to be really open and transparent in the decision making that council's undertaking, and certainly the thinking of council. And I do believe the committee meeting framework does give us a good amount of time to really think about the things that council is deciding at the end of the month in the general. So I just think this makes sense and will help streamline it. And I look forward to that extra Wednesday that we'll gain, where we can hold a few more workshops or discussions or other matters. And yeah, fully supportive of the motion. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Further speakers? Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Just to be noted more than anything to my fellow colleagues in the event of this and having meetings, and we'll no doubt carry on through the majority of the day, just to be noted then under the current weather conditions, and no different to today, that in the event of a storm I will be asking for council to accept that I disappear, because as of yesterday and this classic example this morning, minimum amounts of rain, and if this proceeds to happen over the next 3 to 6 months, just noted for council that I may have to disappear, and if I can, I'll Teams in the event of me getting home. So just wanted to make that my councillors aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Okay, further speakers? No? Happy to go to the vote? Those in favour? Yes. Got Councillor Jones. All carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, 10.2 is a formal deputation. That is at 101 on the agenda. From the committee meeting, the recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council authorise and support Mayor Otto and Councillor Shoemaker to present a formal deputation to Ministers Furner, De Brenny and Butcher about the work that has been progressed as part of Phase 2 of the National Water Infrastructure Development Fund options analysis and business case for the South Burnett. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Henson. Councillor Shoemaker, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Certainly this was discussed at the committee meeting. However, yeah, I just feel really passionately about this in terms of setting our region up for a prosperous future. I know we have done so much work in the space of water and really understanding what the opportunities for feasible water projects in our region looks like. And I do think it would be wonderful to be able to take that feedback and that information on behalf of the people of the South Burnett, and certainly those that we've been advocating for, directly to those who make the decisions in Parliament House. And I just think with the release of the energy plan today, our timing it could not be any more perfect. I know we will learn more as we break for lunch, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to attend virtually the Premier's State of the State announcements today. I think we cannot afford to take our eye off the ball. I think the way in which the energy landscape is changing very rapidly, and as we look to power Queensland with safe, affordable and reliable energy that is renewable, I do think this is a really pertinent opportunity for us to put our best foot forward, to put a really strong case to government that we have water projects here in the region that do stack up. We have people that are willing to buy that water and to grow our agricultural outputs because of it, and that we can support our region to transition from coal-based, coal-fired energy to renewable energy by helping grow and bolster our agricultural outputs. And I think this is a really great opportunity for our council to advocate on behalf of the people of our region, the future of our region, which I know is very important to all of us. So very passionate about this, Mr Mayor. Feel we have got the ducks in a row and feel we have got a very strong case to put forward to government for support into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. If there's no further speakers, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, 10.3 is attendance at the LGAQ conference. Mr. Sear, would you mind speaking to this one for us? Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, I'll be very brief. Mayor, you're regrettably unable to attend, so we've got that slot has become available for this year's LGAQ State Conference in October. It does throw our diaries out a little bit for this month because it is a fair commitment. So the position is, so one spot's become available for the attendance to the conference, which Councillor Shoemaker has extended an interest in, so we've put that down. Last year was, when I hadn't been to our last couple, but last year's was the first time we've seen where they actually, well, I've seen for quite a while, where LGAQ stood on their digs as far as delegates only were allowed to speak off the floor. Normally it was an interested party. So each council carries a number of votes depending on size, population, category. So like Brisbane might have 14 plus votes. We have 2 allocated to us as our council. So traditionally, the mayor or one of the delegates has carried the 2 votes. Last year, after last year's conference, and our understanding that no one else was allowed to speak except the delegate, it was agreed by council to separate it. So each of the 2 council delegates carry a vote each. Now, I need a resolution for this because of the AGM and a couple of other, because the LGAQ is a company, I suppose, for want of a better term. So there's Councillor Henshin, I see, sent through an email the other day, but we've just left the recommendation blank. Deputy Mayor Jones is already a delegate, so we're not changing that. It's for council to formally endorse a replacement to attend the conference and appoint the second delegate, please, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sear. Do we have Councillor Henshin? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. My email was, I guess, directed at the time when you, Mr. Mayor, had relinquished your position there, not knowing that you might have been invited nor able to attend, Councillor Shoemaker. And that being said, I am seriously happy if you wanted to be a delegate, Councillor Shoemaker, with the work you've put in, with some of the things that's going to be tabled at the conference. And as I said last year, the LGAQ conference in Mackay was probably one of the most beneficial things, not just myself, but I think as all us councillors went up there. Councillor Erkins, I'm sure you will get an enormous amount out of this. It is a wonderful thing that we can attend. But I'm happy for Councillor Shoemaker, and I'd be happy to nominate Councillor Shoemaker if she would accept that to be a delegate on behalf of the South Bennett Council.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Henshin, would you be happy to move that?
My word, yes, Mr. Mayor. Of course, yeah, I'd like to move. Councillor Shoemaker, if only she accepts it, becomes a delegate for the South Bennett Council at the upcoming LGA conference in Cairns.
Thank you, Councillor. So we have the motion moved that Councillor Shoemaker attend the 2022 LGAQ Annual Conference in Cairns, 17 and 19 October 2022, and Deputy Mayor Jones and Councillor Shoemaker be appointed delegates and allocated 1 vote each. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Erkins, thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henshin. Certainly happy. I think it is a wonderful learning opportunity. Very much looking forward to the debate. I think it will be very interesting because you often see the city and the regions divide in these debates. I'm very happy, though. It's a great learning opportunity. I'm very happy for you to be the delegate and speak to our motions that we've put forward. That's not a worry at all. I just think we have to be prepared because I do think it's going to be an interesting debate, an interesting couple of hours, particularly based on the conversations that have been had around energy and who should be generating it. Thank you. And housing.
Indeed, thank you, Councillor. Further speakers? We'll go to the vote. Sorry, Councillor Henshin, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. I'm sure that if in the event of we get an opportunity to go to a conference again next year, I'd be interested. As you stated, there will be some serious conversations had there. And what's being tabled, and I'm led to believe, and it'll be interesting when we get our packages, most of what we've put forward is also being supported by many other councils that they've put forward as well. So there will be some fairly interesting debate or some fairly interesting comments made around what will be tabled at the LGAQ conference in a couple of weeks' time, and do seriously look forward to it. And and I welcome Councillor Erkins to be part of that as well, because it's a wonderful experience. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, 10.4, Budget Committee meetings 2022. Mr CEO, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Again, briefly, the audit recommendations are coming through, but there was the one kicking off the Budget Standing Committees a little bit earlier. This report today, there is further, but given the timeframes between the meetings and it's just to get the committee re-established for this year. There will be a further report come in October. We haven't picked a date. Again, LGAQ, without repeating myself, takes a big chunk out. We'll work through the dates and the workshops and the different meetings we have, and we'll come back with dates to councils, but we will get the first of these in October.
Thank you, Mr CEO. We have the recommendation as presented there. Council items 1 through to 4 on page 103. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Speakers? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 10.5, Christmas close down. We might stay with you, Mr CEO. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. It's part of our process to formally advise of shutdown for each year and the different options. It was just presented to the last standing committee. It's effectively the same resolution we bring each year. There was a couple of comments at the standing committee that we'll chase up, but just put forward for council's consideration.
Thank you, Mr CEO. So we have the recommendation from the Standing Committee, items 1 through to 6 on pages 105 and 106 to 106 as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconded Councillor Potter. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 10.6, Corporate Risk and Audit Advisory Committee recommendations. Page 107, we have a recommendation there, but Mr CEO, again, would you mind? Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. This is slightly, and I didn't mention it, I tidied up the wording in the formal deputation one from the Standing Committee to authorise an act. This is the same. Now that we had each one of those resolutions out of or recommendations from the Audit Advisory Committee, they've just been folded together. The Budget Committee one is already subject to a separate report, and so we'll enact that, but that can be just moved today, Mayor, if council feels as a block, and we'll get them on their way.
Okay, so we have the recommendation at page, items 1 to 5 at pages 108 to 109. Do we have a mover? Mover, Councillor Potter, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Henson. Speakers? Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 10.7, monthly financial information at 110. Its recommendation is that the monthly financial report, including capital works and works for Queensland, as at 31 August 2022, be received and noted. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconder. Councillor Potter, thank you. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 10.8, extension of the rates discount date to 23 September 2022. That is at 150, Mr CEO? 150, yes. The committee had recommended that council endorses the extension of the rates discount by one additional day, which was to the 23rd of September 2022. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconded Councillor Duff. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 10.9, adoption of council's portfolio representative policy at 151. Committee has recommended South Bennett Regional Council portfolio representative policy statutory 003 be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconder. Councillor Duff. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 10, adoption of council's disposal of assets policy, statutory 008, that is at 155. Recommendation from the committee is that the South Bennett Regional Council disposal of assets policy, statutory 008, be adopted as presented. Mover? We have a mover, yes, Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Henson. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 10.11, adoption of South Bank Regional Council's financial hardship policy, statutory 012-163, and the recommendation from the committee is that the South Bank Regional Council financial hardship policy, statutory 012, be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff. Secondly, Councillor Erkins. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 10.12, adoption of Council's insurance management policy, statutory 024 at 169. Recommendation from the committee is that South Bank Regional Council insurance management policy, statutory 024, be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson. Secondly, Councillor Erkins. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 10.13, adoption of the South Bank Regional Council rate collection policy, statutory 041 at 173. Discussed at the committee, whereby it's been recommended that the South Bank Regional Council rate collection policy, statutory 041, be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Erkins. Seconded, Councillor Henson. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you to council and staff who put a lot of work into discussing and debating and reviewing those policies over recent months. We'll now move on, council, to 11.1, which is the flood recovery works update, which is at page 180. And again, this matter is really just to note for information. So we have the report there on the flood damage recovery works and the project services required. It's recommended that council note this report for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff. Seconded, Councillor Potter. Thank you. Speakers? Anything? Councillor Jones, anything from you around the flood works?
No, Mr Mayor, other than just a continual chasing our tail. The men and women out there are doing great work, and whatever this rain predicted, if it comes, it's going to create dramas where, so we just finished one stage and then we go into another one and we've had 5 events. It's just an ongoing saga that, you can tell the people, but frustration, no one's more frustrated than council staff and councillors and all that. So it's just something we have to deal with and do the best we possibly can.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Probably a little irrelevant to this part on the agenda, but I just want to make note in Chambers today, and again, if it's flooded, forget it. There was an incident this morning, as Chambers is aware of, and I was a little bit late this morning. Cannot reiterate enough, and here we are with another weather event coming, and another act of stupidity this morning in the early hours, where someone tried to traverse across a creek out in the western side of our division or our region. That brought to many police officers involved, many council officers, and can I just say, Mr Mayor, through you, can a massive thanks go to our staff this morning and the way that they conducted themselves in relation to that. We're in limited, no phone service out there, so we had to traverse quite some kilometres back to get phone service. The way that our staff handled that particular environment out there this morning, and it's quite confronting when you come across that. As I did this morning, you're not sure what you're looking for, where you're looking for them, whether they're down in the river somewhere. And again, I'm not sure that you just can't teach stupidity, but I'm not sure if someone out there is. But again, and perhaps in our media release, Mr Mayor, again with the weather events we've had, but the weather events that are coming, they're talking about the same again. There was only 19 millimetres of rain in my neck of the woods, and all the tributaries and rivers again this morning are running higher than they have run in the last 4 weeks. So, Councillor Duff, in your neck of the woods, you're going to see a lot of water traverse out there in the next. I've said it before, that water took 5 days previously to get out on the Bundoomba side of our division. That's now taking roughly about 12 hours to get out there, and there's some serious water. The Stewart River, the Boyne River, the Manium, the Jummer, the Ironpot, the Boyne, the Bowyard, they all have run seriously, hence is that accident that happened. I won't call it an accident of stupidity this morning, and the police will investigate that, and that's just not where it stops, because there's laws now in place. These people will be fined, and there will be a fine issued to this particular person, whether that he takes heed of that or they take heed of that. But again, it was very confronting for our staff to come across that this morning, when you see a stranded vehicle in a watercourse that's been there for some hours with no individual there, and particular damage done to that vehicle. It doesn't do you real good for the rest of the day. So just would like to reiterate and certainly encourage, if we can, Mr Mayor, through our media, to punch that out time and time and time again, and perhaps state serious fines are in place for this now. This particular person will be fined. They have the registration plate. They will track him down and they will fine him. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. A very important message. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wanting to know, through you to General Manager Tim, with regards to what Councillor Henson has articulated, on those main roads where we've got those signs on the bridges, I noticed that some of them have got the flashing lights and some of them haven't. Are the flashing lights meant to be, they're the warning signs to say that if it's flooded, don't drive over those bridges. Are they meant to be flashing, or are they only meant to be flashing when there's actually water over the bridge? Because it's causing a lot of confusion.
Through you, Mayor, I would have to take a degree of that on notice. My understanding is they are in the process of getting completed installs. So the other week there was one that was actually installed. Main Roads are doing the installs for them, but my understanding is that they would flash when it's over the road, so the road is impassable, or the trigger levels may be actually that the approaches to them are underwater as well. So it may be a bit of both, but I actually don't have the detailed knowledge of that because it is a Main Roads project. But the one that was flashing the other day, that was they'd installed it that afternoon and there was some sort of technical difficulty with them. So they got their technicians back and fixed it through the night.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, just one more question. Just wanting to know how we're travelling with the emergency work. Did we get is that timeline deadline over, and how did we go with getting the roads done that we had listed?
Through you, Mayor, I think from memory we have till the 28th of October to complete our emergency works.
So supplementary question, just how are we travelling with that? I know there was about 1,000 roads, so are we on track? Are we going to get them done, or how are we travelling?
Through you, Mayor, I'd be thinking we probably took a bit of a hit setback yesterday with depending on how widespread those storms were. My understanding was that we were pretty well sitting on target to get what we needed to be done by the 28th of October, but obviously this latest storm is probably, I know Councillor Henson advised me that Youngman Road is again impassable, so yeah, so we actually we were scheduled to do the work on that by the end of this month, and it is now impassable after 32 mil of rain last night.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yeah, I agree that is going to be challenging, because some of those where we've done the emergency work, obviously it's just temporary work, and any of this rain is likely to we're going to lose that value that we've done. So, but I guess there's no comeback there if that washout is washed out again. Do you just lose the value of that work, or can we argue the case?
Through you, Mayor, my understanding, unless it was another declared event, we would actually lose that, and we'd just have to replace it under our own volition.
Yeah, that's a real challenge and a real shame, but I guess it is what it is. So yeah, thank you for the update.
Thanks very much, Acting General Manager. Any further speakers? Sorry, Councillor Henson.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll grab Councillor Jones. Over to you, Councillor Jones. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, just on Councillor Duff's comments, that's exactly what I was alluding to when you asked me if I had any comments. With the unprecedented weather that is being thrown our way over the last 12 months and going to continue for the next six to 10 months, as they're predicting, it all comes back to the federal government allowing and granting, doing the investigations, doing the allowing the funding to go ahead, I guess, and our staff are just pulling their hair out. They're just chasing their tails at the moment, the poor buggers, and, like Tim has just alluded to, 32 mil and 19 mil and that sort of stuff. It's doing the damage to the roads because everything is just so wet, and this is the thing that I'm finding with my portfolio. When I go out and speak to people on the roads and they're ringing me up and they're saying, what a joke, you're coming out here, I hope this is not the best you're going to do it and all that. You've got to, and once you explain it to them, what the process is and all that, 99% of them are quite good and they understand the process then, and they just seem to settle down. But look, it's just an ongoing thing. And until this rain buggers off, this is just going to be a regular occurrence, and who knows how long it's going to take even when it does start to settle down and dry up a little bit and all that sort of stuff, because the issues are going to be water's coming up. People that have been in this council for over 30 and 40 years are seeing water seepages never before seen anywhere in their lifetime working on the council. So that tells you how wet it is and what these people are dealing with. And it comes back to the funding and all that being approved from federal so that our staff can get out there and do the job properly. So it's just throw the ball in the air and see where it lands. Basically, at the moment, we're doing it. Staff are doing the very best they can, but they have no control over the weather. That's the unfortunate thing.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Manager Lowe, I would like perhaps if we could liaise with Main Roads a little more on these, as Councillor Duff alluded to, and it has, as my conversation with you some week or 10 days ago in relation to these flood level signs. And again, yesterday morning, I think it was, I crossed the Bond Bridge at Geelong and one side's flashing and the other side's not flashing. And as I stated, and Councillor Duffer said, it's throwing huge confusion in amongst travellers on the road as to what they're supposed to do. I think Main Roads might have some form of issue there trying to calibrate them, or the system's just not quite up to speed yet. But in saying that, it's a great concept to be able to have that out on our highways and our roads on these bridges, because as I stated, there's an enormous amount of water going down there. I wouldn't be surprised if that particular bridge at Geelong will go under, if not under, it'll be very close this afternoon. There was 50 mil of rain on the Burrendown Road. There was 18 millimetres of rain. Now, I don't know what substitutes a major weather event. If the departments to be look at, you've only had 15 or 38 millimetres, honestly, that's doing more damage. And 5 weeks in a row now, we've had rainfall where it has flooded or created some major issues, and that's virtually in the month of September, and they're predicting again this afternoon. So it's not just how much we're getting or how much. So I don't know whether being a weather event is categorised under whether we have to get a certain amount of rain or a certain amount of damage. But honestly, 20 and 30 and 40 mil of rain are doing the damage and more damage than what happened 6 months ago. So whether that can be taken into consideration as well, because honestly out there, it's wet. It is seriously wet. And as Councillor Jones alluded to, I mean, there's particular roads there that phone calls this morning I've received, it is not possible for our guys to do anything with them. It is just not possible to do anything. You can't get a truck up there, you can't get a grader, you can't get a bobcat or a backhoe up there. And as Councillor Jones alluded to, 99% of our residents are appreciative of what's trying to be done, and they're being patient. They're going to have to be patient for a fair bit longer yet. So, thank you.
Councillor. Mr CEO, this issue around this ongoing rain. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Just to answer the councillor's questions and for everyone. So there is criteria for a declarable event, and a storm is not a declarable event, not 15 mil, not 30 mil, probably not even 100 mil. If it's a single rain event, so to get an event declared to access assistance, generally it has to be a threshold damage to public infrastructure, not private infrastructure. So even the loss of, we've seen it not just here, but in others. I recall one that went through a storm that went through the outskirts of Gayndah when I was up there, and it was $1 million worth of lost product in the citrus industry, and that was just prior. That was December 2012. It was not an eligible event because there was no damage to public infrastructure. There was no cost to public infrastructure. It triggered other agency responses, but it doesn't trigger an event that's claimable under the system. There also has to be a multi-agency response to it. So if it's just council and it's roadworks, or it's just fireys doing their thing, or what would be considered what emergency services does SES in their normal business, that won't trigger an event. It has to be a multi-agency response with a damage threshold. Then you have to apply and go through the process and get it ticked off, which we all know. may take a little while sometimes. QRA certainly is an excellent partner, and they're always very worthy to talk to. But if this storm continues on its way, as Acting General Manager before said, we're on our own pretty much as far as the damage that the storm rain will do. Now, we can always ask, but you would accept that as your base point, that storm rains will be our responsibility to go forward with.
Thank you for clarifying, Mr. CEO. Councillor Erkins.
That was probably going to be what I asked about the storm that we had last night in Anango. I know that a number of businesses were affected with water runoff, but I don't know. And I know coming in this morning, there's quite a few potholes that have been fixed that are coming up again, but I didn't know whether there was anything else there.
A lot of the temporary works will blow out because it's just, and again, without reiterating or repeating what people have said, high water tables, a lot of volume. It just doesn't take, you get 10, 20 mil now and the ground squirts water in your eye. It literally, when you step on it in different places, the water table's that high. The other thing that we will have with these storm rains, and as put my word of caution on, with the winds coming through in the storm season, and this area does have a risk profile more for riverine flooding than it has in my 20 cents worth of those storm events. You're going to get a lot of timber, we're going to get a lot of timber down. Now, with a couple of the ones in my time here, we have been fortunate to get assistance with the disposal of the timber and the pulping and things like that. So, as I said, we'll always ask and see what's out there. And there is also individual agency responses, but this is where sometimes the government kicks in, and there would be insurance, there would be other mechanisms that they would expect or hope that private residences and businesses have that they can access before they go through the government channels.
Mr. CEO, Councillor Schumacher.
Sorry, can I just...
Sorry, Councillor. Yeah, we'll stay with you.
Just on that, I believe that there were trees down on roads, so I don't know whether council will call that to them, but there was also power lines, trees took out. Some people, when I left work this morning in Anango, still didn't have power on, so I don't know if that is different agencies.
Councillor Schumacher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, this has been a hot topic for council since the first event in November, and it's just incredible to read that we've had 5 events as well as a number of storms that have caused significant damage on our network. And I agree with Councillor Erkin's comments. I've noticed, potholes that our team I've been keeping a bit of a tally with the kids of the potholes on the way to school, and how hard our team, as soon as they go out to replace them and fix them, they're bubbling back up through the surface. And I guess my question to the CEO, because my thinking is to do something, I know in my own mind, to do something that is viewed so prevalently by the community. The community sees everything our people are doing and often make assumptions about such, and to continuously do the same task time and time again with the same outcome and of no wrongdoing of your own, to see here that we've spent $6 million repairing roads that we know will most likely need to be repaired again. And, a huge contribution by our internal engineers, to line up that we've actually got an application for $25 million, approximately $25 million is extraordinary. That doesn't just happen by accident. That happens because we've got the data and the information here in our office. We're doing the inspections to be able to put those applications forward and have confidence that we'll actually be paid for them. My question to you, Mr. CEO, I am really worried about the well-being of our people in these extreme circumstances. I know our customer service team is doing an enormous job in terms of responding to some of the inquiries that we're receiving, the customer requests. And I know our engineering teams, our infrastructure team are working extremely hard. I'm wondering what we can actually do to acknowledge their contributions to our team and the work that they are doing and the service that they are trying to provide to our community in what are some pretty extreme circumstances. Is there anything that your executive leadership team, or is this something that you might be able to take away and discuss? How can we actually acknowledge these people, because they've done an extraordinary job?
Thanks, councillor. That's a big question, which we probably won't have time to delve into every aspect of it today. But every leadership group meeting, we have their value share, so they're being acknowledged through that process. So where we're seeing the actually, I thought you might have been going to about how do we stop doing the same thing over and over again with the same. And that is a tricky question, given the how wet the pavement is and the emergency repairs, and you've got to cycle through the system. And repair, whichever the terminology the government uses these days, but I fall into old language, is replace like for like. And the emergent works is literally, it's not necessarily about fixing every pothole, and it's a good community. Information, so we have similar frustrations with the system, and I understand why the system's there, but it's to make sure that you can traverse safely through that area before the substantive works take place. So an emergent works will not fix every pothole that's out there. And certainly as not only an officer of council, but also a resident, you just hear it a little bit, and there are bounds and means in which we operate as trying to get all the road network open so that it's safe to traverse as best we can until we can do the substantive work. So unfortunately there will be a recurrence of some of those potholes blowing out because they are a temporary repair. All right, so acknowledgement of staff. So we've just finished rates. It's not just the works guys. We do social functions, the morning teas and those sorts of things. We do the value shares, we do the acknowledgements. We've got the end of year function coming up, which has just gone through. There's a range of initiatives. We aren't showing signs with our EAP or trends in a negative sense there, which is good, but that's certainly EAP. The Employee Assistance Program is offered and supported. There's direct conversations with staff that are identified on occasions, and obviously for a whole raft of reasons I won't go down with any detail on that, but they're doing it a little bit tough, and those one-on-one conversations happen. But very shortly there'll be an after hours work function voluntarily for those, given that we've just got through the rates period and those sorts of, so it's those sorts, footy tipping. It's a whole range of different initiatives that come together at once. And the one that, if I can give a plug, is we've noticed, and actually had a chat to a gentleman on the weekend in a nursery buying trees. The level of anger in the community that's being directed at people behind front counters, it doesn't matter whether it's council or just plain old shop people, is just mind-boggling. And a gentleman in a nursery, and once he started, he went for about 10 minutes, and it was therapeutic, I think, for the conversation for him, because we had a good old listen. He said, and it triggered by something as simple as, oh, do you mind if we put our plant here while we go and get another one? He said, oh, you're about the first person in ages who have asked, and once he opened, he just went. And when we're talking to the community, like when community, everyone's fathers, sons, mothers, daughters, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, somebody knows somebody who works in a shop somewhere. And it's not just our staff, but we have noticed that uptake in the level of anger and vitriol that is coming across retail. Now, what it is, and again, I'm talking more than just broad government, it really does affect people, and it would be a wonderful day when we don't have to have employee assistance programs and things like that. But if my good old mum always said, we understand that people get angry, but there's never any cause to be rude, particularly to those frontline staff that are just doing what they've been asked to do.
Mr. CEO, very well said. Thank you. Mr. CEO, just in terms of Councillor Shoemaker's question, is there anything you'd like to sort of see come forward from Council in terms of us supporting and recognising our staff and dealing with these very frustrating times?
It's been something that's been long coveted by myself, and actually with the employee value shares, I haven't even, there may be something come towards, The difficulty is when once you start not a rewards program, but yeah, there'll be some further information that's based coming down the track, Mayor. There's a program that I particularly I'm kind of keen on, and we want to flesh it out a little bit more before we bring it back. But the bit that we need to make sure is often you see the front end of a project being well delivered, but there's the back end of it has done a marvellous job to support. So certainly, and one of the ones actually, if I can give KTP a plug, without jinxing myself, we've had some workplace health and we've just got a report back on that the other day. We've had we've had some workplace health and safety incidents, but with the with the spend and the massive amount of time that project has had, we have not had one LTI injury in that project. Now that is going to be recognised formally in due course, so with the staff involved. So yeah, so Mayor, without shooting off the hip today, there is something that I would like to bring back.
I look forward to that. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yeah, thank you for the clarity. I just think, team morale is everything. Culture eats strategy. And I would like to see our ELT consider something perhaps a little bit more generic, focused on the response that our council has provided to these flood recovery works, and some ideas around how we might be able to actually acknowledge those people out on the ground every day who are seeing this. Because, yeah, I do think it would be wearing. It certainly would be wearing.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And Mr. CEO, I think also there's the public acknowledgement, the public see us as a council acknowledge the challenges that our staff are facing, and the work that they are doing. Can we perhaps organise as a council to do some public acknowledgement of our staff, so that we, as collectively as a chamber, come out and acknowledge and thank our staff for the work that they're doing? Because there's obviously the frustrations, but there's also the fact that we do get those small percentage of people, as we've indicated today, who will do the wrong thing and shoot the messenger, or approach our staff and be critical. And some of us have seen this firsthand. I lived with that growing up. My dad copped a lot of it when he was working on council years and years ago. So our council staff do tend to be a target at times, and I think there's sometimes we have to stand up and come out and say, okay, well, can we do a media statement or something around that? Are we happy to do that as a collective, as a council? Yeah. I'm also wondering whether, Mr. CEO, it would be worth Councillor Jones and Councillor Henson just issuing a joint statement about the importance of not crossing flooded roads, again, because obviously this morning's incident has now brought that out in the public arena. So, yeah, does anyone have any views on what I've said before we go back to Councillor Henson to wrap up? No? Okay. Councillor Henson to wrap up, and then we'll go to the vote. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on that, and in relation to the media release, yes, I would be certainly extremely supportive and push for the fact that we incorporate several things in this, not just the fact that it's flooded, forget it, and our staff and people that are being targeted under the current conditions, but also what else is happening in our police and SES have to work with. And only last rain event there was destruction done out on the highway when our parks and gardens and our slashing staff are trying to keep our highways and our roads neat and tidy. They go out. Not sure whether people are aware of what's happened this morning in Memorial Park, but again, there's a major issue there with just stupidity. Made the comment, and I'll say it again. You can't teach it, but honestly, there's someone out there that is, because that now will be another cost to the council, which will be borne by our ratepayers. I'm not sure whether I can allude on that anymore, but it'll come forward at a further date. But again, just unbelievable. But certainly if we can do a detailed media release in targeting what's happening, and certainly and our staff, again, our staff don't deserve that. And I'll say it again, the staff this morning, how they handled that circumstance out there this morning with a flooded event. Cannot commend them enough with how they handled that. So fully supportive of a media release, and probably a fairly detailed package, big package of a media release that And if we got to keep doing it every week, if it rains every week, I would suggest we do it every week.
Thank you, councillor. Mr. Chair, would you mind taking the lead on that with our media team to work? Yeah, thank you, with councillor Jones as the roads portfolio holder and councillor Henson in terms of his experience in the rural sector with these issues around our waterways. Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, shall we go to the vote? Those in favour? Carry unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, the next item is the Cumbria CBD streetscape, and that is at 182. And I see we've got Manager Darcy here. Welcome, Manager Darcy. We do have a recommendation there, Council. It's come from the committee that South Bennett Regional Council approve the Cumbria CBD streetscape detailed design for commencement of project construction with an additional $50,000 accessed from restricted funds for transport assets, increasing the project value to $350,000. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson. Seconder, Councillor Shoemaker. Speakers, Councillor Henson. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great work, and thank you, Manager Darcy, for this. This is going backwards and forwards. Contrary to some comments made in the community, everything was taken on board with this. It's been changed several times. We're going back to Cumbria, of course, Thursday afternoon, I believe, at 5:30. To keep the residents of Cumbria convinced and happy that this project has taken its course, and there's an enormous amount of work, and I'm not sure whether Manager Darcy would like to just quickly allude on that, but it's there in front of us. The design's been changed, and I said this before, something like 6 times. There's no loss of parkings in Cumbria. It's still designated areas with certain widths in it that complies with all regulatory compliance. So, yeah, Manager Darcy, if you have anything to add to that, I think it's a wonderful project for Cumbria. Appreciate the Chamber's support in not only initially adding $50,000 to $250,000, but in the time frame we've had to work on this and going to $350,000 moved by Councillor Jones. I greatly, and the community of Cumbria greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Further speakers? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just concerned, we did have that meeting at Cumbria and there was quite a bit of pushback on the not knowing what was happening with the design. I'm just concerned to approve the design. I'm supportive of the additional funding, but I'm just concerned about, there was concerns about the truck, whether there was going to be gardens where the trucks could pull over in front of Rikes, whether where the bus stop was going. There was still a lot of concern in the community, and I'd rather than push it through, and I know that there's going to be a walk tomorrow evening, rather than push it through the design through and say it's a done deal, whether we should lay it on the table and just till after we've had that walk around with the community, just to ensure that they have, that they're actually all on board. Because what would happen if you just do the project, how bad is it going to be if they're not happy with the project? So I just don't want to go down that path. So just wanting to suggest that we hold off on actually approving the design until we actually do that community walk around.
I think on this one I'm going to want to hear from councillors here. I'd like to go to Councillor Jones first as the portfolio holder, and then I think if we can do that, if that's okay, Councillor Jones, and then I'd like to go back to Manager Darcy to talk us through the community consultation process that's led us to this point, just so we've all got clarity around the background on this. If you don't mind, thanks, Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, understand, I was at that meeting the other day with the Cumbria residents. There was all sorts of, I made a phone call to James and answered all those concerns. There was concerns about the garden beds being too close. They weren't able to park trucks in. Well, they're 60 metres apart. That'll enable two trucks pretty much to be able to park in in between the garden beds. The one garden bed in front of Rikes that Councillor Duff alluded to, maybe that is a potential to move that a little bit further forward or whatever, depending on whether it can be moved. The shelter in the main street, that's to pick up, I think there's about 11 or 12 kids that get taken into the Kingaroy schools, not the Cumbria school, but the Kingaroy schools, and it's also been put in the middle of the street, not only as a pick-up point for the kids where they currently get picked up now, but also as part of street furniture where it can be used as a shelter and be used as double purpose. the process all the way through has been we went through some community consultation. Councillor Henson's been out there a lot more than what I have, but I attended the first couple and the meeting the other day, and I'm very confident that these designs, and as Councillor Henson alluded to, the information that was suggested that wasn't received, and some person in the community went to a lot of trouble to collect all that and get it in there, well, that was received and was taken on board. So all those concerns. With Councillor Duff suggesting we leave it on the table, that'll be another month, and we need to get this happening. I'm happy to put something in this motion that subject to consultation tomorrow afternoon, but to leave it on the table for another month. And I believe that the design is very close to being completed and ready to go. So if there was any, if there's going to be any changes, I'm quite comfortable saying that they will only be minor, because these people, when they go out there tomorrow, will find that all their suggestions and conversation around it have been taken on board, and I think James and his staff have done a pretty good job, what I've seen in the past. So happy to put something in the motion, Councillor, to say, taking on board possible small changes as of tomorrow afternoon or something. But yeah, I'm not in favour of leaving it on the table, because these guys have done a very good job, and we did promise them that we would have it completed by Christmas, but whether or not the time frame still allows us. So yeah, that's just my point of view on it.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. That's probably a good recommendation, isn't it? That we put something in there, because we have organised to do a final walkthrough of the street tomorrow afternoon with the community councillors. So, if we do get little tweaks there, Councillor Jones, you're thinking maybe we can put something here that just says subject to minor changes. Or is that what you're thinking around that?
I'd be happy for James's input on that, how it would affect anything in moving forward, and timeframes and that sort of stuff. But honestly, what I've seen and knowing that all their comments that were put in that box that were supposedly not delivered has all been taken on board. I think, as I said the other day to the community members out there, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised that their concerns have all been addressed, and I don't know that they'll be wanting too many changes. Reiki Fuel made a comment, and probably a fair one there. They have trucks there, but they were I got the opinion that they thought that the garden beds down the main street were going to be too close for trucks to get in between, so therefore they'd lose any options of having trucks parked there. So that would be my only question mark around the design, whether or not that garden bed could be pushed up, back, or whether it's sufficiently there. So that'd be my only concern. But yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, Mr. Mayor. Taking on board, tomorrow afternoon's only 24 hours away, not 30 days, and James and his staff could certainly move quickly on anything that was suggested.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. I think we'll go to James, and then we'll come back to Councillor Duff, and I think we'll then hear Councillor Henson's thoughts. James, what are your thoughts around that? Thank you. And please give us an overview of the consultation that's happened thus far, because there does seem to be a bit of a misunderstanding in the community around that. So if you could perhaps just clarify it, that'd be great. Thanks, James.
Thank you, Mayor. This project has been well engaged with the community over the last 3 years. I was doing a bit of a stock take on how frequent we have been out there, and pretty much there was a preliminary meeting with a number of community groups with the former council that was back in 2019. So it is something that has been discussed for a period of time, and there's been a lot of good thoughts put forward by the community. So yeah, we've pretty much met with the community, the Cumbria community, annually. It's probably fair to say, through the development of the design of the project. And what we've also been able to do in getting a design for community comment, it was well received. For the size of Cumbria, we had 69 responses come in from people who are really passionate about their community, and that's fantastic. And we received that across the three modes of feedback that we had. So we had the Rikes session back in October last year, and then a fortnight later at the hall. And then the following month, we had the box of information that came in. So all up, that equated to 69 responses coming through. And then there was a report provided to Council in January of this year to help demonstrate what that looked like through a series of, I think we had 5 questions and we had graphs to support the responses from the community on that. So what we have, and your Councillor Jones and Councillor Henson are correct, the design has developed off the back of that feedback. So what we took out to the community, I think we had something like 22 planted islands on each side of the street. That is now back to about 17 based on particular things that just weren't going to work in being able to accommodate all the interests along Bell Street out there. So we've tried to shuffle them around, but where we've not been able to succeed in doing that, we've had to make the decision saying, well, maybe we just can't put it where we want to. So in addition to that, and the comments around the frontage of rights, and what I mean by frontage, we're also talking the other side of the street, to put those concerns to bed on the northern side. So on the immediate frontage of rights, we're looking at about 90 metres of space in between the 2 garden beds. So that's on the western side of Rykes, all the way to the eastern end, which I think is pretty much the first tree on that northern side as you come into Cumbia from Kingaroy. So 90 metres is quite significant for a tree spacing, given that your B doubles that are in operation out in that part of the world, they're around 25, 26 metres. So not only does it support the frontage of Rykes, it should support the adjacent properties there as well. And on the southern side of the street, we're looking at about 100 metres. So that ties in well with the comments that the councils have received. I understand the concerns, and we've built the design on those comments, and we want to bring them back for endorsement because we have listened and we've taken that into consideration. So Councillor Jones was correct, around 60 metres. I think in one location we're down to 40, but generally it's around between 40 and 70 metres throughout the project, except for that section on either side of the highway in front of Rykes where it expands out to cater for all those larger vehicles. But as said, those larger vehicles, the B doubles are 25, 26 metres. The treat islands we're talking are 40 to 70 metres apart. So very significant manoeuvring room to get in and out of those, as well as supporting some of the outcomes that that project is doing through the other interests that the community has provided over the years. Hopefully that provides the council with a bit of an overview to help in moving this project forward.
Very much.
Mr Mayor, can I just...
Yes, we'll start with you, Councillor Jones, and we'll come back to Councillor Schumacher and then Councillor Henson.
Just one more, James. Sorry, through you, Mayor. James, just one more question, just for the community benefit and the rest of the council in the chamber there. There was concerns around the positioning of the bus shelter in the middle of the street. There's supposedly, there is a building there that could be opened up as an engineering works or something like that. They were concerned about driveways blocked and all this sort of stuff, and would it be positioned well enough to have, if it was ever to open up as an engineering works? So just your clarification on that. I know that you've addressed all those issues.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Jones, and through you, Mr Mayor. The driveway has been maintained on the eastern side of that crossing. That was duly noted on site, and the crossing has been accommodated or probably reduced slightly. Originally, when we did our original design, we found that we needed to tinker with that to maintain that access. And given the fact that they do have frontage onto the highway and it is their main frontage, we want to help support whatever the future of that premise looks like. So we've really worked hard in trying to maintain the existing access and allowing that to continue into the future, whatever that looks like.
We might go to Councillor Henson first. Were you next? You're right. Oh, Councillor Schumacher. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the additional information. I just had 2 questions. In terms of the concrete islands, have I read the designs right, that the plan for those are to be landscaped to add trees and things to the CBD?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the islands are very much similar to what is in Nanango, and that was part of some of the real early on feedback, that there was a desire to try and replicate some of the successes of Nanango and bringing that across into Cumbia. And there was some success through particularly the Henry Street, so the main Diagula and Burnett Street north-south highway that exists in Nanango. There was a desire to bring some of those similarities across into Cumbia. So we had the opportunity to work on that a few years ago, and we've seen what the successes of that are, and we've looked to bring that across. So it is, concrete islands with some no-fines concrete in the middle with trees that are placed inside of those. So we're looking at trying to really minimise a lot of the ongoing operational cost with that, and certainly the observations of that over the years, that there has been some success with that from liaising, probably not with the current manager of parks, but the previous one certainly.
So that goes to my second question, actually, Manager Leanne. My understanding, there aren't currently any garden beds in the main street of Cumbia, and just in terms of your opportunity for your staff to provide feedback on the design and the landscaping features, I think that's very important, and I would like to make sure that you've had the time to contribute to the design as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly my predecessor, the former manager, and some of the Parks and Gardens staff have liaised with James' team, so pretty confident with that and happy to carry on with that. I'm happy to have another look at the design and talk to our staff just to refresh them, because it's probably been a little while, so happy to do that. I know our Parks and Gardens team are very keen to see some of that soft sort of landscaping design come through, so very much keen to see tree species and gardens come back through through these designs, street designs. So that's exciting. And probably just for us overall, I mean, some of that requires additional work, but as James alluded to, not major maintenance costs for us to go back and just maintain those trees. We're not talking about significantly large garden beds, so manageable, yep.
Thank you for the context. Look, I did attend a couple of the sessions out there at Cumbia. I do think we as a council made a commitment that we'd be sitting under the Christmas tree together at the Christmas carnival, enjoying our new streetscape in Cumbia. My biggest concern is, and I did look at that budget closely, because every dollar, is ratepayer funds, and it's very important that we're investing the funds that we have wisely. And, I am concerned, of course, about our budget, and I did look at the options in the previous meeting to peel design features out of this project to achieve the budget. However, I do also recognise, the way every town and village in our region feels and looks is really important in terms of achieving those overall livability outcomes. I think I've seen certainly through the transformation project here in Kingaroy, and I know in Blackbutt, once we start these projects, the conversations don't just end with the community and we get on. They're engaged every day in the activities that are undertaken, because there is disruption with projects like these. I'm probably hesitant. My biggest fear would be if we hold this up, really we're asked for the budget allocation. I'm comfortable with the design elements and recognise that, as James and others have said, there may be a need to move some aspects slightly during the project build, but I'd hate to see Christmas come and we haven't delivered this project for the Cumbia community. So I'm of the mind of, I would support the officer's recommendation as it stands. I would like to see us get started and to work with the community as we're going, to make sure if there are any giant changes that they are considered. We've done that here in Kingaroy. We've moved disabled parking bays, we've moved trees, we've changed things as we've gone, because, a design is never perfect. My real concern is around the timing if we hold this up, Mayor Otto. So I certainly want to deliver something that the community's proud of, and I think from the feedback that we've gotten, they're hungry for these kind of elements. It just may be a matter of more conversations, as you learned in Cumbia on Friday.
Thank you, councillor. Yes, and of course we do have a resolution on the books, a resolution of council to endeavour to deliver this project pre-Christmas, as you've highlighted. I'm just, before we go to councillor Erkins, just noting what councillor Jones has said, and I'll be guided by Mr CEO here. How would council feel if we were to look at that, Kimberley, and have approved the streetscape detailed design, and then in brackets after that, noting ongoing community feedback during construction. I'm just picking up on what councillor Shoemaker said, that there's going to be ongoing little bits of community feedback. I don't know if that's wording's right, but something around that nature. Mr. CEO, I mean, that might be too broad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Mayor, I don't know that you'll get during construction. I would tend to probably noting final community feedback from the meeting of the 20th and 29th, because if you open it up to during construction, any group that comes along then, and so they would have a quite a right to say, oh, I just want to move that garden bed to the other end of the street, or I'm being probably, but yeah, if tomorrow is the walk around, and yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow certainly the intention was to be the final walk around. So, councillor Jones, what are your thoughts on that?
Can I just make an amendment to that motion, just simply by taking that bit out that you just added and just putting in number 1, that we approve the plans taking into account. Well, yeah, I'm happy to be guided around the wording on this, Mr. CEO, and anybody else, but we approve the motion to endorse the design, taking into account conversations to be had with community on the 29th. Any minor changes can be dealt with by staff.
Could I just suggest
something along those lines? Yeah, sorry, Kimberley, but yeah, I'm just flying blind here. I'm happy with that top bit where we can get into it, get the job under the way, but making note that we're meeting with the community tomorrow afternoon for a walk around for final opportunity to so something along those lines, Mr. CEO. Maybe you can help me with that if you can understand what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, thanks, councillor.
If there's any minor changes to be, made, they can be dealt with by the design staff, and the project can continue as long as it doesn't, it stays within budget.
Mr. CEO.
Wants to go as well. Councillor Jones, I'm going to probably be a little bit harsh. I think it says exactly the same thing as the brackets. And if this is, and this is the other harsh bit, it's not to work with all councillors and the community and feedback. If I can give a plug, one of the reasons that we didn't send information out from the standing committee is because things can change by the time they get to the ordinary. So you get very nervous about sending out final designs prior to the final decision. The other aspect of it is, if this is going to be done by Christmas, whatever happens tomorrow afternoon, we're going to just have to crack the whip on Kevin and the team, because we're going to really need to get moving. So to my thoughts is, whilst it's different words, it says exactly the same thing. Maybe the brackets are a little bit inelegant, but that gives final feedback tomorrow. This is last drinks, and let's get on with it.
Thanks, Mr. CEO. I think we'll go to councillor Erkins shortly, but before we do, councillors Henson and Shoemaker, do you consent to those changes? You comfortable with that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
You're comfortable, councillor Henson?
comfortable, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, councillor Erkins. Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, one of the things that I feel is definitely important, and this is going through Nanango's streetscape, which is many, many years ago now, but we still have feedback from people who felt that they weren't listened to. So I don't think it's a matter of everyone having to agree with it, but it's just a matter of everyone thinking that they have an opportunity to give their thoughts, and then if councillors are all going to be there and staff are going to be there, it can be discussed and they can put their point forward and it's taken into consideration, or explained to them why things happen as they are, but I do think it's important for people to feel that their concerns are listened to and then an explanation given to why they either can or cannot have any changes, because I do know, as I said, that 99.9% of people who come through Nanango and live in Nanango just absolutely love our streetscape, but there's still that very, very small minority who still feel that their opinion was not taken into consideration. So I really support the motion, and I just like the fact that, we're going to take into consideration people's feedback tomorrow.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, councillor Henson to wrap up.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Yeah, Councillor Erkins, can I just say that this community consultation has ranged over the last 3 years from the previous council even. To think that this would possibly lay on the table, and Councillor Shoemaker, and would be noted in our minutes that we would be opening each other's Christmas presents, mine to you and you to me, under the Christmas tree come Christmas 2022, and that was some time ago, and I haven't got your Christmas present yet. We conducted community consultations there. We engaged arborists to look at the trees there. We've had multiple consultations, and the design has been changed so many times I've lost count. There has been community consultation, Councillor Erkins, and through you, Mr Mayor, just for the record, there was a gentleman there in Cumbia some 18 months ago that vowed and declared that he was going to chain himself to the trees on the footpath there when we started the streetscape in Cumbia. Now, that becomes a police matter, of course, but I can assure you that his input was taken on board at the time. Arborists were engaged to look at the trees and the structure and the safety of the trees. Our Plants and Gardens team and Manager Darcy will have a list of the plants that were noted by the local community that they might have wanted to incorporate in it. That particular gentleman is no longer in Cumbia community. He's moved on. But these are the things we deal with, and we've been dealing with this from way now, not just in my term as council, but the one previously. So not just myself to think that this would not be started and the weather permitting, finished before Christmas. The community of Cumbia have been on this case for that long that we now will go back there tomorrow and we will acknowledge what they say. The amount of work and design's been put into this is a credit to, again, the staff, and they've changed it. I don't think I've seen in my time in council probably a project so small in value with so much attention to detail given to it and the amount of community consultation. So I am fully supportive of this project going ahead and would dearly love to see it project finished before Christmas. I can understand under the time restraints that our staff will have with weather conditions and that may not happen. I'm very comfortable, and I guess there's been some misinformation because the number of times that these designs have gone out, people have got probably designs from 6 designs ago. And one of the comments made the other day was in relation to the planters around the trees. They're absolutely nothing, and Manager Darcy can confirm they're nothing like the ones in Kingaroy. They're actually flat. They're not a box structure. And in relation to the parking, there's been no parking spots lost in Cumbia. They've manipulated very well around the entrances to all the properties in Cumbia to try and incorporate what we've done. We've taken out a few things. There's been more taken out than probably has been added in this. So power lines, wide loads have been taken into consideration, which might be going to happen with the wind farms and this was 12 months ago that this was taken into consideration because people made the comment about, where we're going to go with wide loads. The street's the same. The power lines are the same. And there's other things that we're talking about in Cumbia which are on a totally different front, but 110% supportive of this and thank the council and the staff for the work they've put into this, and they'll look forward to the community consultation tomorrow and what they'll bring forward, but the bottom line, I look forward to the progress on this to hopefully be designed and finished before Christmas. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Before we wrap up, councillor Duff, I just want to confirm, you're comfortable with what compromise we've made here?
Yes,
In terms
Mr.
of your
Mayor.
concerns? Yep, okay.
Very
that's
happy.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think councillor Henson's concluded our debate as the mover, so we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Yes, we've got councillor Jones. Very good. Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, now we have got the Premier's state address in relation to the government's proposed 10-year energy and jobs plan, commencing at 12 o'clock. So I'll now move that we adjourn for lunch, and that'll go until 2 o'clock, and that we resume after 2 p.m. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Henson, thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay. We're online, Mr. CEO, so thank you. Thank you. Welcome back all, and I'll now move that we resume the meeting. Second, I thank you, Councillor Henson. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. We'll wait for Councillor Jones to come back online. I believe Ergon's disconnected, or he's been disconnected from internet/electricity, so we'll get him back shortly. Councillors, yes, welcome back. I'll now move that we escalate items 23.1, 23.2, 23.3, 23.4 to the next item on the agenda. Do we have and also a late item received today, referred to as in the confidential section 11.1. So I'll move that those items be escalated. Do we have a mover? A seconder, Councillor Henson. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. That being the case, recommendation is that Council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with Section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012, being 23.1 Development Opportunities, Pound Street, Kingaroy, under 254J-G, 23.2 Financial Hardship Rates Application, 254J-D, 23.3 Undetected Water Leak and Undetected Water Leak Report, 254J-D, 23.4 Sale of Land for Overdue Rates Update and Action Date to Section 254J-I, and the late agenda item here is, thank you, Mr. CEO, Section 254J-F and I. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Potter. Any speakers for or against? We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We will now go into closed session and attend to those matters. Thank you all. If we can take offline. Council, everybody. Okay, we'll now attend to late item on the agenda, which is item shown on screen as 11.1. The recommendation is as presented on screen, items 1, 2, 3 and 4 in relation to the matter. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder? Councillor Potter, thank you. Any speakers to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay. Right, welcome back, Councillor Erkins, and we'll now go on to item 23.1, where, yes, yeah, thanks, Mark. 23.1 recommendation is that the report be received and that further investigation into the disposal of the land in accordance with the Local Government Act provisions be undertaken and a report brought back to the October General Council meeting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, second to Councillor Potter. Any speakers to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 23.2 Financial Hardship on Rates Application as shown. Recommendation is as presented. Items 1 through to 5 on page 33. Do we have a mover? Yes, thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Seconded, Councillor Henson. Speakers to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Yes, sorry. Forgot about Mr. C. Just note that our CEO left the room, left the meeting in relation to, yes. Yes. Okay. Council, we're up to 23.3. We're just waiting for Mr. CEO, but we'll move forward. It's an undetected water leak in relation to a rates assessment. And I'd like to just get a motion up there if we can, please, Kimberly. And you can perhaps just edit the original one, that council provide a concession in the amount of, and I did write it down here somewhere.
You need to put the amount in there, Mr Mayor.
Do we need to put the amount there, Mr. CEO?
I was thinking, I was playing with it just before. South Burnett Regional Council approve an exception to the water rebate policy to the level equivalent of the 3-year average for property 12459, blah, 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 due to the unique circumstances of the water leak, particularly noting the water leak was discharging directly to the sewerage network and not allowing any opportunity for the property holder to mitigate the leak. How's that?
You got a lot, Kimberly?
I'll just... Hang on.
Is it late in the day?
Here it comes. Kimberly. Where are you, Kimberly?
I thought mine was a lot easier.
Too much time to think. There you go, Kim. Water rebate policy. I hadn't got policy in there after water rebate.
Right, we good there? Okay, thank you. So we have a mover. Councillor Potter, thank you. A seconder. Councillor Henson, thank you. Any speakers? No, to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. CEO. 23.4, sale of land, overdue rates, update and auction date. And the recommendation is that Council resolve to receive the report and hold the sale of land for overdue rates public auction at the Kingaroy Town Hall reception room on Tuesday, 8 November 2022, commencing at 10 a.m. Do we have a mover? Yes, Councillor Potter. Seconder, Councillor Shoemaker. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, let's go back now. I think we're back to item 11.3, which is, are we 11.3?
Yep, Tingora Village. It certainly is, Mayor. Tingora Village.
Tingora Village. Yeah, that's 192. And we have a recommendation there that Council note the report, consider a project in future capital works program and as part of the November Infrastructure Standing Committee to consider staging these works as part of the deliberations for LRCI Phase 3 projects. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Henson. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 12.1, Wesleyan Methodist Church, 194. Recommendation that the Wesleyan Methodist Church in Ango be advised that whilst Council is unable to provide funding, Council supports their concept in principle and would support their organisation in their efforts to obtain funding from other sources. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconded Councillor Erkins. Speakers? No. To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, 12.2, request for a letter of support from the Mergen Music Muster at 195. The recommendation there is that Council approve the following support for the 2022 Mergen Music Muster. 1, promotion of the Music Muster on Council's website. 2, accommodation for some of the artists and band members at BP Dam, totalling $2,480. 3, provision of 20 wheelie bins and daily collection of same over 7 days from Monday 31st October up to and including Monday 7 November. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff. A seconder? Councillor Potter. Thank you. Any speakers? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the Mergen's signature event. It's really the only big event that they have in the year, and so that's why they're asking for this support. Mergen's going to be on show. There's some figures there about the 21,000 that are put back into the economy last time they ran it. So it's a big function for Mergen, and that's why they're asking for the additional support. So just really keen to see that happen, and also wanted to flag the fact that Mergen will be on show, and hopefully we can have the parks and gardens looking a bit extra special. And also they've asked for, during that period when they've got all the visitors to town, that they could have potentially an extra service to looking after the amenities, because there'll be a lot more pressure put on the amenities during that week and that weekend of the muster.
Thank you, councillor. And this Parks and Gardens will certainly be glowing if they look any better than they are now. Our teams have been doing a wonderful job. Every town I drive through at the moment, the Parks and Gardens stuff have got the towns looking amazing. So congratulations to your team, Manager Leanne. They've done an awesome job. Councillor Schumacher.
Yes, here. I absolutely agree. Driving through Wanda yesterday too, excited to see them potting the new area there with fresh colour. It looks gorgeous. My only question, fully supportive of this one. It is a major event for Mergen and the entire South Burnett region, and I think the requests are more than reasonable. I just wanted to, I noted here that the club made an application to the community grants program, so I just wanted to confirm, is this in addition to that funding as well? We just approve that through this mechanism, I guess.
Jeremy Dramé, did you want to address that? Thank you.
Yeah, so that was in addition to this. So that was for separate. Well, I think it was for the artists or whatever. Yeah, so I was separate to this.
Yep, thank you. I just want to make sure that council receives the appropriate recognition for this kind of support, as we do with all other festivals and events. You know, I just think it's very important that, this is over and above what we normally provide, and that council is actually acknowledged for that, because often I think we provide a lot of support, and that creates a lot of great outcomes in our community, and they're not always recognised. So that's my only feedback with this. It is over and above what we normally give community groups.
Can we articulate that in the letter of response, Mr CEO, that we'd like to see appropriate acknowledgement of council? Every government body expects that when they fund. So can we do that?
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, GM.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. I also just had a comment on the third point with regards to the wheelie bins. I was just suggesting that we, certainly provide refuse services, but we would probably provide this by large skip bins rather than the daily servicing. So that's probably impractical and to provide 20 wheelie bins to service 7 days. So, we would just be more economical for if we provide the bulk skip bins, and that's what we did at Bacon Fest. And so, I think it's... so rather than provide refuse services, waste collection services or something, rather than specifying...
So if we just said provision of skip bins and... sorry, GM, provision of skip bins. And how often would they be collected, did you say?
We'd work with the committee, but we might, depending if we can have these skip bins, we might need to only collect it, say, midweek and then at the end.
Yeah, so
it's probably just...
Take that out. Can we just keep backspacing? Provision of skip bins.
It's probably, maybe we say something general like appropriate waste management services, because there'll probably need to be a mix of wheelie bins that they can empty into the bulk skip that can be, and then we'd only collect the bulk skip rather than servicing the bins each day. Yep. CEO has a frown on it.
Our waste managers can negotiate the appropriate outcome that's suitable to council and them. Yeah, okay. Coupled with that, so thank you. We've got a mover and a seconder. Happy to go to the vote. Those in favour?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Jones.
Yes, sorry, I just want to make point of item number 2. I have concerns around that. We've never done that before, as far as I know. The comment was made that the community grants and assistance is certainly getting above and beyond what we normally do, and that is going to come at a cost. And as long as we're aware of that with the budgets, it's mentioned earlier, we have no fat in our budget and we have to run a tight ship. So I just don't know. I'm happy to support it, go with it, all the rest of it. I understand that BP is conveniently situated next to Mergen, but we've never given away and supplied accommodation like this before as far as community assistance goes. So I do have concerns around that, but I will happily go with the consensus of the chamber today. But I just want to make it clear that I do have concerns around supplying accommodation, and the list will continue to grow. The community expectations, whatever we continue to say yes, they will continue to ask different options. So just want to put my view out there, but happy to go with the consensus of the chamber.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Jones. Anything to respond, Councillor Duff? Closing comments? Comfortable?
No,
Go to
I'm
the vote?
just comfortable to go to the vote. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Sorry. Thank you all. 13.1 is at 198. That's Planning Department Operations, and the recommendation is that committee recommends to council from the committee was that the recommendation is that a monthly briefing session be scheduled between councillors and the planning and development team to provide information about planning and development activities underway and to assist councillors in learning and understanding more about planning and development processes. And number 2, that a policy about the conduct of planning briefings is brought back to council. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker. Seconder? Councillor Henson. Speakers? Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very keen to get these, to have these briefings commenced, because I can certainly appreciate there's quite a lot happening still in the planning and development space, based on the numbers that we have been receiving in our reports. I just wanted to know, in terms of that policy about the conduct of planning briefings, I know the reasons why we were talking about it. I think it was basically, a terms of reference or some basic shared ground rules around receiving information, not implying influence or trying to change planning decisions in any way, shape or form. I just wondered from GM O'May's point of view whether we should would the policy negate us being able to start these briefings, and what sort of time framing do you think would be needed to put something together? Should councillors draft some ideas and circulate? Just keen to understand your thoughts in terms of that time frame, and if we should put a time frame on it.
Through the chair. Certainly, and I know that the team have actually started on the policy, or the acting manager has started on some guidelines, and I know the CEO's had some initial discussions around the guidelines. We were trying not to hold up, because I think it is everyone's keen to actually commence those briefings. So if council's comfortable, I imagine we'd be discussing that at the first briefing, trying to bring a bit of a draft framework that you can discuss. So the policy is more around providing some confidence to councillors that they can participate in those without sort of fear of repercussions. So I think over the next sort of the weeks that we'll be bringing that back and trying to schedule the first briefing in.
You're too efficient, General Manager O'May. Thank you. That would be, and the team, thank you very much. I think with everything going on, it's important that we start somewhere. So welcome some conversations about that, and fully support the motion. I think this really is about us trying to better understand. I know certainly in my time as council, I've received a lot of feedback from people frustrated about our planning processes, but don't always understand the reasons why specific things, actions have been taken. And to be fair, I haven't understood. And you come in guns blazing and say, what's holding this? Why are we getting this bad feedback? And the reality is that there's often good reasons. So I just think this briefing will give us a good opportunity to ask some of those questions and be able to better inform our community around how council addresses some of these things. I'm fully supportive of the motion.
Yes, probably just one thing further to Councillor Shoemaker's comments. Mr. CEO, would you be comfortable with chairing those briefings? I'm just thinking in terms of, we've got to be very careful of this space, and I certainly don't want to be, to make sure that we aren't stepping outside any areas that you'd be comfortable with. I prefer that you have control of how the briefings operate, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly, Mayor, if that's what council's wish, happy to. Yeah, very happy to. And again, I agree with General Manager O'May. I think we're all very much looking forward to getting them started again because they have been a gap that we've all missed.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I just want would you mind if we just put that into the motion? I just think that gives us the proper independence, proper oversight of the process. If we're starting to trip over ourselves or go somewhere we shouldn't, Mr. CEO as the chair that can then shut that down to ensure that we don't inadvertently or infer any pressure on the staff or any opinions about a potential assessment. So the Chief Executive Officer chair these briefings. Thanks, Kimberly. Councillor Shoemaker, are you comfortable with that? You are. Thank you. Councillor Henson, comfortable with that change? Okay. Yeah. Further speakers? Councillor Duff, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just a bit pedantic about dates, and I'm just wondering if we could put commencing October or whenever, or November, or whenever you're going to plan to do it, just so it's there. Is that okay?
What are your thoughts, General Manager O'May? Did you want to set a month to start these? Suit your staff?
Yeah, if we were looking at October, but I think with the LGAQ conference, so November would be probably appropriate. We would definitely be able to kick them off in November, and certainly with the change to the standing committee format, may be able to free us up some time for that we were looking at. So yeah, commencing November would be appropriate.
Thank you, General Manager O'May. Does anyone have any objections to that addition to the motion? Everyone's comfortable? Okay. Shall we go to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, 17.1, temporary flat water feature at 200. We do have a recommendation from the committee here that council add to the $250,000 Works for Queensland funding that is already allocated to the temporary flat project a further $8,550 to complete the water feature, making the total budget allocation $258,550. Do we have a mover? Yes, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Duff seconded. Thank you. Speakers? Any speakers? Councillor Erkins, did you want to go first? And then we'll go to Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you.
Yep, I think we discussed it fairly well at our committee meeting. I think it will be a great feature for our park, our entrance to town, and I'd just like to leave it there.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I've thought about this. I am going to support it. It's only a minor amount of money, but I do want to point out that I won't be supporting any more projects that take funds away from a project that we have been working on for the last 2 years. So I'm quite, I know that we have to get this project done. I'm very excited about the celebrations there in Nanango. However, I do know that project here for Memorial Park is very important. It's a regional park of significance, and it's very important to the people of the South Burnett, and we know that because we received unprecedented response to our surveys and our community consultation. So we'll support this, but that is it from me. I'm not giving any more money away from that. I won't support shifting any more money away from that bigger vision, that grand vision, that project, because we have been chipping money away. While everyone's easy to throw stones at Kingaroy, we have actually been chipping money away out of Kingaroy projects for quite some time now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Any further speakers? Councillor Jones, anything from you?
No, all good. Just rock on.
Thank you. Okay, no further speakers. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carry unanimously. Thank you all. 17.2, Tingura Cricket Pitch, 201. There is a recommendation from the committee, I believe. Council grant approval. The recommendation is that Council grant approval to the proposed Tingura Sports Association to upgrade the cricket pitch with a new concrete base and synthetic turf surface. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Henson? Yeah, Councillor Duff seconded. Speakers? Manager, are we paying for the cricket pitch to be upgraded out of council funds? Could you just clarify that?
No, we're not. The community have done some fundraising and have a grant. They're proposing to do all the upgrades to the cricket pitch through their funds. But council would be then responsible for any sort of upkeep as this community group doesn't lease the area. So any sort of further works for maintenance would be our responsibility, like it is. We currently mow the site as well, so that's how it works.
Thank you, Manager. Further speakers? No. Councillor Shoemaker? Yep.
Just very excited to join the Tingara community. I understand they will be having their first home game in November, and go the Vikings. I think it'll be a wonderful thing for the Tingara community.
Councillor Hitchin?
Yeah, no, just quickly, Mr Mayor, through you. Great result for those guys. They'd said this all along. Councillor Shoemaker and I had the company of their presence in the Tingara Hotel there some time back. Wish them all the best with this. They did put forward a application, but unfortunately their paperwork hadn't come through as far as incorporation, so that club's moving forward. So wish them all the best and look forward to what they put in the middle down there.
We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 17.3, demolition of old tennis shelter at Windra Park, 202. Recommendation is that we proceed with the removal of asbestos-containing materials and demolition of the Windra Park tennis shelter. 2, approve to set aside $25,000 excluding GST from the operational budget in the first quarter review 2022-2023. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Hinchin. Speakers, Councillor Duff first. Did you have anything? And then we'll go to Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, the reason why I'm really very supportive of this is for safety issues. I know that there's been people handling that building and potentially children with exposed to asbestos. I think it's very, very important that we address this sooner rather than later. So really keen to see this supported. Thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Listening to Councillor Duff's comments, it was my understanding that it was quite an underutilised and abandoned site. So I probably just want to confirm, that is the site, it was my understanding it was actually all fenced up and people couldn't actually get into the buildings.
Yeah, can we have that confirmed? I think the question from Councillor. Manager Peterson.
The site is secured with security fencing. But yes, at times we do receive vandalism where that security fencing is tampered with and access is obtained at times. So yes, we have got temporary security fencing around the site.
Yeah, thank you. Look, this one for me, I'm not going to support it, not because I don't think it's a wonderful project or that it needs to be done. It's joined the long list of many other projects just like it where we've left something broken for a very long time and now we have to do something about it. The reality is, for me, I'm just concerned where we get another $25,000 from out of our budget, which is already buckling. So I'm not going to support it based on the fact that I don't believe we've just got cash available for projects like these. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to see the problem resolved, and certainly I am concerned if it is a safety issue, but if the site is secure, I know we've got many other sites which are in similar circumstances, and we did not budget for this in our current budget, and I know there's no fat now in our operational budget, so that's my position on this.
Yeah. Councillor Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, whilst I agree with Councillor Shoemaker, I do believe that once you put the words asbestos in something, I believe we've really got to do something about it. So I believe this is something we have to do, and we have to do this for the community.
Yeah, Councillor Erkins.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. If kids are getting into the asbestos, if they are, getting in the fence, I think it needs to be done. So.
Yeah. Okay. Any further speakers? Councillor Jones, your thoughts? Anything to add?
Mayor's, look, simply, we've all heard this before in the chamber too. Yeah, we've got a list of these things, and yeah, we've got to fix them up eventually. So this is a good place to start. We've got to start somewhere and do something for the community. I've had that said to me on a number of occasions. So I'm happy for this to go ahead. Asbestos. It's beside a rest area out there, like people can stop. Yes, it's fenced off, but you only need one fibre and one person can die. Yeah, the likelihood, it's very limited, but knock it down, get it over and done with. 25 grand now. If we wait another 12 months, it'll be 35 and it goes on. So, yep, just get into it, get it out of the road, clean it up and let the bloke that owns the cattle property there, let him feed his cattle on it to keep it mown.
Manager Peterson, are we able to close this area eventually and give the land to the local cattle property owners? It's a long way for our staff to go out to mow this park, and from what I've seen, it doesn't really get used, does it, by anybody?
I just
Or
have
am
to.
I wrong?
I'd have to check. I'm thinking it's on a road reserve. Yeah, so I just need to check how you would, what size of the road reserve, and is it something that is suitable for grazing purposes? But it is alongside the main highway, so we just need to work through that. But just to confirm, I mean, the $25,000 that we're asking here for is the removal of the entire building, so it's the asbestos and the entire building, which is a Besser brick building with Colorbond sheeting roof. So, yeah, and that detail was in the report there. So, you know, if budgets are extremely tight, then maybe an allocation purely for the asbestos removal, and then you're just leaving the structure there. The structure is an eyesore, and my concern with the structure is really around people still gaining access because it doesn't have doors or windows, and people camping and squatting in it, and fires and campfires and we have had to go out there at previous times and clean the site from litter and squatting. So, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the entire $25,000 proposed here is for the removal of the entire building.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Yes. Those against? Okay, we'll just note Councillor Shoemaker against. Everyone else was in favour. So we'll take that as carried. Thank you all. We'll move on now to QE2 Park and public toilets at 203. We have the recommendation that council undertake an inspection program to proceed to formulate a public amenities condition assessment report and develop a prioritised maintenance and repair program, and 2, approve undertaking immediate repairs to install vandal-resistant fixtures and fittings to the QE2 Park amenities. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Erkins. Speakers, Councillor Duff.
I think that this one is fairly self-explanatory. I think we just need to proceed with it. I'm quite sure I would have the support of the chamber. Thank you.
Further speakers? Nope. Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 17.5, dump point near Geelong toilets, 204. Recommendation is that the installation of a dump point at the Geelong Public Toilet Facility is not supported due to the high installation cost and ongoing operational expense. Signage to be installed at Geelong Public Toilets on the 10 public free dump points spread across the South Burnett Regional Council area, and that council consider development of a recreational vehicle strategy for council-owned and controlled land as part of its 23-24 operational plan considerations. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Henson. Speakers? No? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 17.7, replacement of septic system at rural and public toilets at 206. Recommendation is that council approve the installation of a new aerated wastewater treatment system. Oh, did I skip one again? Oh, sorry. Oh, it's Geelong toilets. Sorry. Thank you, thank you, Councillor Henson. Yes, Geelong toilets. So we've got recommendation there, 17.6 at page 205. Thank you, Mr. CEO. 1, the installation of a new aerated wastewater treatment system with land application area trenches to service the Geelong public toilet. 2, that the new aerated wastewater treatment system with land application area trenches is located on the disused tennis court on the eastern side of the site, and that $48,500 not be taken. Not be taken from the Mergen Free Camping Amenities project due to the high concern of failure and health risks of these amenities, and that it be taken from other building depreciation restricted cash funds. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Henson. Speakers, Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support this project, but I supported that money not going from the Mergen Free Camping Amenities due to the fact that they were already identified as a concern of failure and health, and that was put out in our budget that we were actually going to do those toilets as a matter, as a priority, so that's why I put that additional dot point.
Further speakers? General Manager Peterson, do you have the money in your capital budget available to do this? Are we going to cause an issue for you?
It's not in the current depreciation capital works. We would have to look at the restricted capital money that's available remaining in the building asset class.
Thank you. Okay. General Manager May, anything to add from your point of view?
Oh, yeah, no, that, yeah, as Manager Peterson said, this was to come from restricted cash. That was council's discussion at the time. That wasn't out of the current capital allowance. It was from the restricted cash or reserves.
Thank you, General Manager. Further speakers? To the vote, those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you all. Now 77, replacement of existing septic system at Rural Toilets. That's 206. Recommendation is that council approve the installation of a new aerated wastewater treatment system with land application area trenches to service the Rural public toilet, that the 2 trees located at the rear of the Rural public toilet building be removed, and that $38,500 not be taken from the Mergen Free Camping Amenities project due to the high concern of failure and health risk of these amenities, and that it be taken from other building depreciation restricted cash funds. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Henson. Speakers, Councillor Duff.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just the same concerns, and yeah, that's why I put that 38,000 to be taken from the other building with depreciation restricted cash. Thank you.
Further speakers? Councillor Schumacher.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick.
Oh, sorry, yes, Councillor Jones,
No,
thank
you're
you. No, you go, Councillor Jones, thank you.
Thank you, through Mayor, to Manager Peterson. The Mergen Free Camping Amenities and all that, can you just confirm that that's the old caravan park, the Mergen Caravan Park, where we had issues with residents and all that sort of stuff? So we're going to do them up and continue operating it as a caravan park, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I need. Yeah, good.
Councillor Schumacher.
Yes, Mr Mayor, fully supportive of this. I think the last 2 reports have been an example of, again, assets breaking down at their end of life. I know we have that building depreciation restricted cash funds there for projects like these, so I'm supportive of that so that we can get the Mergen Camping Amenities project done properly. But yeah, I am just so mindful, here we have spent more money out of our bank account, and this is actual real cash. So yeah, that's just, I guess, almost a bit of after the last livability standing committee meeting when we had these discussions about all these broken things and how we needed to spend more money. It just worries me because, these are important assets, no doubt, but I know there are other priorities in our communities as well, and this is the challenge for our council when we're receiving declining amounts of state and federal funding to be able to deliver on the needs of our community. So I do not make these decisions lightly, but recognise that these really are broken assets that really do need replacement now and cannot be sweated any further.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Potter.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, just a question about how much do we have left in that account, and what's our ability to actually put funds back into that account, please, Mr Mayor?
Manager May, thank you.
Yeah, I think my understanding that one is around 600. Around 650 left in that, and how we get funds back in there is if we fund our depreciation and don't fully allocate that to capital for that year, which at the moment is difficult because there is always demands for renewal works for use of that depreciation. So yeah,
it's a good question. Jim, can I just ask a supplementary question to that then? So in this current financial year that we're looking at now, 22-23, and happy to take this on notice, Kerry. So have we funded our depreciation for buildings, and have we spent that amount of money on our capital program? How's that sitting? Thanks, GM.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. So, and Kerry can hit me in the back if I get this wrong, but essentially we've funded 50% of our building depreciation asset in this year's capital program. So roughly we've funded 50% and allocated that to capital works. So
Yeah, look, I've got to say I share Councillor Shoemaker's concerns. We're only funding 50% of our depreciation, and we have I would imagine, like our roads, a vast building network that we have to try and maintain. And yes, we do seem to continue to be spending money each meeting. It's becoming concerning. And another example of why the government needs to step up and give us the appropriate amount of financial assistance grants for operations, because we can't afford to keep funding the repairs of all these old assets that were built by previous Shire councils, and it's putting a lot of pressure on our council and our community. There's no doubt about that. So I just wanted to make that statement. It is a very serious matter for this council over the next couple of years. Okay, all right. So we go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Council, we're up to 17A, removal of asbestos containing materials, garden edges, King Roy Memorial Park, 207. And the recommendation is that asbestos containing material in the garden bed edging to the western end of King Roy Memorial Park be removed, and that subsequent to the removal of the associated garden beds and garden bed area be levelled and topsoiled, and the Kingaroy Memorial Park works for Queensland funding is used to fund the clean-up of garden beds. You might have to concede on this one, Councillor Shoemaker. I know you said no more. Okay, do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Duff. Speakers? Councillor Shoemaker.
My point exactly, Mr Mayor, that, you know, these funds we put aside because we set a vision and we try to achieve something great in our community, and this is just another example of a problem that needs to be repaired, that needs to be done. You know, I know there are many people disenchanted by those garden beds. They're full of weeds. Our staff can't maintain them. You know, they are asbestos. They do need to go. I know it all makes sense, but the reality is it's another $10,000 that we have to spend on something that's significantly broken. And unfortunately, in this term of council, I've found that we have just had to do this time and time and time again. And, you know, that's $10,000 that I know children in the region would love to see invested in playgrounds and places where they can enjoy, and instead we're fixing up broken things. So I'll support this motion because, quite frankly, that is one of our highest use parks in the region, and that absolutely needs to be done.
Thank you, Councillor. Further speakers? No. Sorry, Councillor Henson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Look, and completely agree with you, Councillor Shoemaker. The only thing with this, on a positive note, that every time we remove one of these things with asbestos in it, we're not going back there. They're gone.
Keep chipping. We'll keep chipping away. Goodness. Okay, no further speakers. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 17.9, Community Connection Local Built Small Grants Program at 208. Okay. So we're right to proceed, Mr CEO. We've got legal advice around that. We've confirmed that earlier in the day. So the recommendation is that South Bennett Regional Council, in accordance with the approved grant budget, make an allocation of $100,000 for the delivery of the Community Connection Local Built Small Social Recovery and Resilience Stream. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson. Seconder? Yes, Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you. Speakers? Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is actually a very exciting program. This is a good thing in our agenda today. This is an opportunity for us to take federal funding and invest it in our community to create resilience, and certainly I think you know, if we've seen through our grant funding previously, when we give community small amounts of money, it's amazing what they can achieve on a shoestring. So I just think this is a wonderful opportunity to really help bolster our community groups, to encourage them to hold events and activities that promote wellness and well-being and community connection, and to allow our council and our community to be richer, all the richer for it. So I have had a look at the guidelines and the eligibility. I think we've tried to make this rather simple. I like the fact that, you know, we are seeking match funding. I don't doubt that the $100,000 allocation will be chewed up quite quickly. And I'm pleased to see that we're starting that in October, in time for the Christmas activities and functions and things that might also happen. I just think, regions like ours, it's very unusual that we get opportunities like these, and it's exciting that we'll be able to invest this directly back into the community, who will achieve big things with it, no doubt.
Thank you, councillor. Further speakers? No. Just on the process, Mr. CEO, for the assessment of the applications and approval of such, would you mind just giving us an overview as to how you expect that would take place? Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Mayor. I'm probably as up on it as having read the criteria as the councillors are, given it came in, and I don't know if General Manager O'May will be more knowledgeable, but yeah, I'm a little bit rusty on it, barring what's in the guidelines.
Yeah, just noting that Mr. CEO's been away as we've worked through this process. So, General Manager May, what are your thoughts in terms of how you'd like to see the assessment process undertaken?
Yes, essentially the framework we had set up for the assessment was that it would be done internally by council officers, and depending on whether the application, because with this there is that one part of it is for the community, the building. So if they're doing work, so we might bring someone like the property team in for those assessments, but generally be through that our community team, and they would sort of provide an assessment, make sure they meet the guidelines, provide a recommendation to myself for approval.
Yeah, thank you very much, General Manager. Just want to make sure that, because some of us councillors do have conflicts of interest here potentially when it comes to any applications that could be submitted, but being undertaken independently by our officers, that's comforting to know. Thank you. Okay, then any further speakers? Happy to go to the vote? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 18.1 is a material change of use for a childcare centre at 101 Alfred Street, Kingaroy. That's 217. Okay. Yeah, Mr. CEO, yeah.
The recommendation is on page 224 because it replicates the original.
Oh, yes, 224. Thanks, Mr. CEO. Yes, we've got the committee recommendation, which refers back to that. So we'll just go to that. Thank you, Kimberly. There we are. So recommendation is that council approve the development application for material change of use, development permit, childcare centre at 101 Alfred Street, Kingaroy, and described at lot 25 on SP 237285, subject to the following conditions. Those conditions are as presented there, council. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, a seconder. Councillor Shoemaker, speakers. Councillor Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, we, if you don't know, we do have a shortage of childcare centres in our area. There is a long waiting list. There are people, wanting to come to the area, wanting to put their children in childcare, but they just can't. So this is something that we drastically need in our community. So this is a great application. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor. Further speakers? Okay, in accordance with the officer's recommendation, those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. CEO. 19.1, amendment to fees and charges schedule at 231. And we'll get the recommendation up. Council amend its 2022-2023 register of fees and charges to include the following fees and charges. In consignment fee for cattle, as presented, and item 2, that council amend its 2022-2023 register of fees and charges to clarify a discount is no longer available to the following caravan club members at Joggy Peterson Dam and Recreation Park and Boondooma Dam and Recreation Park. Discount may apply to approved not-for-profit clubs on application and seasonal specials packages to be authorised by the Chief Executive Officer. Do we have a mover? Yep, Councillor Potter. Seconder, Councillor Duff. speakers? General Manager May, we're fairly clear on this one.
They were just clarifying some essentially misprints and mischarges in the adoption of the schedule.
So a correction to just a misprint. So procedural matter pretty well, administrative matter, Mr. CEO. Those in favour? Yes, carried unanimously. Thank you all. Next item is 19.2, facade improvement program at 233. And Mr. CEO, could I call on Councillor Jones? If you could, Deputy Mayor to chair. I'll now leave the room with Councillor Erkins. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, 19.2 facade improvement forum
Hang on,
or program. Sorry. Yep.
now go.
Okay. Officer's recommendation that in accordance with the approved grant budget that one, an allocation of 180,000 is made to the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce and Industry for the delivery of the Kingaroy Facade Improvement Grant Program, and two, an allocation of 120,000 is made for the delivery of the South Burnett Region Facade Improvement Scheme. Do we have a mover? I can't see there, Mr. CEO. Can you help me out?
It was Councillor Hench, Councillor Shoemaker.
Yep, thank you. So moved by Councillor Hench, second by Councillor Shoemaker. Comments, councillors?
Councillor Shoemaker, Deputy
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I did just want to provide some context because I know there's been significant community conversations about this online, and just wanted to point out that on the 23rd of March 2021, the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with South Burnett Regional Council, held a workshop for businesses and building owners who were looking to update their shop fronts and to capitalise on the investment of the Kingaroy Transformation Project and vision to activate our tired and decrepit CBD. Guest speakers included Crowe's Paints, who offered a discount on paint and discussed upgrading your shop front while maintaining its heritage. K Apparel and Home Butcher Supplies, who talked about the benefits they experienced with new signage, and Kingaroy Joinery, who talked about their experiences through budgeting and staging their approach to the upgrades of their shop fronts. There was overwhelming support from the Kingaroy business community at this event, where we also heard from Green Edge Design and Rickson Design, who supported us with a presentation on how lighting and how to accentuate architectural features. And if you really look around our streets, they're so rich with history, and I think we all learned so much through that workshop. We certainly know what a difference a coat of paint can do and some lighting can do to a shop front. It is wonderful, I think, that through this application we will be able to help businesses shine and for us to help fund the costs, because we all know with the rising cost of living, our small businesses are doing it tough. We also know that basic upgrades to facades and buildings can help to attract new tenants to unoccupied spaces and help to activate our streets, which is really exciting. So the facts are, later in the year, in 2021, it was my understanding the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce were actually going to submit an individual application for a facade program for under the Black Summer Bushfire Grant program, exclusively for its own members. However, it was my understanding the program administrators advised that Council and the Chamber of Commerce would be in competition with each other, and if the two actually partnered in the application, it was likely they'd receive a larger slice of the pie. The Chamber of Commerce, from the conversations I've had with their executive, agreed that this would mean far-reaching benefits for our region and trusted our council would keep its word. I was thrilled to hear that Council received $1.6 million of federal government funding to deliver a local-led economic and social recovery and resilience programs across the South Burnett, and that this included the $300,000 that KCCI intended to invest in the facade improvement program. I genuinely believe the Chamber embodied our vision of unity when they saw the benefit of sharing this program across the region. To achieve the desired outcomes of the project, I do believe that every community, every town and every village in our region has a right to be everything they hope to be. I ask, why do we continue to challenge the progression of our regional centre here in Kingaroy? As many other regions just like us have proven, a strong regional hub encourages better outcomes for the residents of their region. Kingaroy is home to more than 10,000 South Burnett residents whose ratepayer dollars equate to around 40% of council's own source revenue. I'd also like to point out that there are 107 occupied premises within the KTP footprint and 16 vacant premises. So let's do the maths. The recommendation is that Kingaroy receives $180,000. Applicants can apply for $500 to $3,000 match funding. So if all 123 premises apply, we can only provide them with around $1,400 within the CBD. I genuinely believe this program will be heavily oversubscribed and that we will need to apply for other funding sources to complete the CBD. As I have advocated for since the beginning of this term of council, I also believe that will involve completing the remaining end of Kingaroy Street, which must be a priority. If we were to divide the funds up equally, let's think about some of our other towns and villages and how businesses are located in the CBD. An equal share of funding in Cumbia or Proston would not make sense, being that there are only a handful of businesses that could apply. Other towns like Blackbutt have received significant private investment, and it's wonderful to see the private investment in a number of facades that have been refurbished. I do believe that there are only a few businesses in the Blackbutt CBD yet to be done. I'm comfortable with the decision, and I can see the remaining $120,000 making a considerable start and adding value to the CBD of our other major towns of Mergen and Nanango. Previous councils have heavily invested in these towns, and I recognise some of these buildings are also tired and that these dollars will go a long way in helping small businesses across the region. In closing, I know the Chamber of Commerce has championed facade improvements to Kingaroy CBD traders and building owners for many years now. I know they've actively been seeking funding to deliver the facade program, and I congratulate them on their vision to create a stronger regional hub and support small business. I'd like to acknowledge their leadership and vision for collaboration and sharing the benefits of this program with other towns and villages in our region. And I know our council from this report is very keen to engage with those other business entities. This program, this facade program, simply would not have happened should the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce have submitted their own application or not come to the table with a willingness to collaborate with council. It's really unknown whether our application would have been successful at all, and it would not have been ideal to compete with our only registered Chamber of Commerce in the South Burnett for funding. I support the recommendation and would welcome a conversation with anyone who is engaged in slandering our council and the Kingaroy business community. We should be building our communities and towns up, definitely not tearing them down. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Shamrock. Any other comments, councillors?
Councillor Duff.
Yep, Councillor Duff.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, so I don't recall it ever coming to council that we were partnering with the Chamber of Commerce. I don't think that went through the first I knew that we had partnered with them was when I read the report. I don't think that any of the other chambers, and there is other registered chambers, including the Mergen Business and Development Association in our region, I don't think that they were consulted. It's okay to say that they'll be consulted now. I think in the interest of equity and fairness, and the fact that we are a regional council, and the very fact that we're supporting commercial businesses, and we picked that 180,000 would go to Kingaroy and 120 to the rest of the towns, like as if almost like just like they haven't actually been considered. In all fairness, I think that the 300,000 should be open to applications from right across the region and not just the 180,000, particularly for Kingaroy, and 120. And I know that Deputy Mayor Jones is always talking about fairness and equity and all of those things. And I just think it just flies in the face of what we stand for as a regional council, and that every business across our region, they all matter just as much as any other business. So I would actually like to move an amendment, if that's okay, Deputy Mayor,
Yes, yeah, councillor, yep.
that the 300,000 be allocated for all businesses across the South Burnett to apply for.
Just waiting on the change. There we go, that the 300,000 be allocated for all businesses across the South Burnett to apply for. So that's your amendment, councillor. Do we have a seconder? Yeah, so Councillor Duff has moved with the amendment that in accordance with the approved grant budget that the 300,000 be allocated for all businesses across the South Burnett to apply for. She's moved that. Do we have a seconder? I'll second that so that we can go to the vote or have a conversation.
So through you, Deputy Mayor, then I think I speak to the amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Again, I just wanted to say that I think that it would be really a good news story for our region if we said, okay, we're putting it out there to all businesses. I think that it sounds fair. It sounds reasonable to me. I just can't accept the other alternative to pick and choose certain amounts for certain communities. And so I'm just really supportive of fairness and equity and what I think would be a good news story for the whole region.
So, Mr. CEO, with the amendment, Councillor Duff has had the opportunity to speak to it. Your guidance, we can open this up for discussion before going to the vote, or we go straight to the vote?
No, you don't need to go straight to the vote. Everyone gets a turn now on the amendment. It's so speaker for and against. In accordance if we're sticking to the rules, one speaker plus questions. So yeah, it's open for debate now. Councillor Shoemaker has the light on.
Yep, Councillor Shoemaker, quickly.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I absolutely agree with Councillor Duff's statement that every business in the South Burnett matters. And I absolutely agree with her sentiment around fairness and equity. The reality is that Kingaroy is our main central business district, that there are most number of business houses located here in Kingaroy, and that during the Kingaroy Transformation Project, I know for a fact, because I've been out talking to my local community, that we have impacted and disrupted trade significantly in the CBD. I know that we've also invested significantly in the CBD with a vision of activating the space and creating a stronger economy. And I know that these funds will go a very long way in terms of tidying up a very, very tired and decrepit CBD. I know that we have got buildings there that have not had any love for a very long time. And I know that we have got a number of traders in the street who are genuinely struggling. I think I am comfortable with the split of the funding because the amounts were calculated. If you go back to the original report, the amounts were calculated based on the number of businesses in every town and how we could get the best outcome for all towns in our region. If I just believe that we must stay true to our word, and I also believe that we really do have a role to play in harnessing the opportunities of having a strong regional hub here in Kingaroy. And I know that the Chamber of Commerce, I've had many conversations with them over a long period of time, have been working on developing a facade program and have been actively looking for funding for a very long time. In all my meetings with all of the other business groups and discussions I've had with other businesses in the street, No other group, no other entity has ever brought it up with me that they have an interest in running this program. And that's why council was going to run this program for the other areas, and the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce would continue to support business here in Kingaroy and run their program. I'm very supportive of the original motion and will not be supporting this amendment.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Henson, Councillor Potter, comments?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Yeah, look, Councillor Duff, fully understand every town's probably had an opportunity in council, and I'm sure would embrace them if they wanted to go forward with a project the same. Councillor Shoemaker has expressed sincerely and articulated exactly the process that this has gone through over the last 12 months. And I recall Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce coming into these chambers, and down the street, nobody I've heard has had negative commentary around this whatsoever, and it was developed through the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce, and correct me if I'm wrong, and they partnered with the South Burnett. I would encourage other Chamber of Commerces in the South Burnett to do the same. Perhaps, you know, there's a $300,000 there with $120,000. It'd be a great start for the other towns to get on board with their facades and perhaps work towards some grant funding and some partnerships with the South Burnett, and would encourage them and fully support that. Cannot support Councillor Duff in your motion on this, but fully support the one from moved previously in 180 and 120,000. Thank you. Mr Deputy Mayor.
Through you,
Councillor.
through
Yeah,
you,
Councillor
Deputy
Potter.
Mayor. This the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce has worked very hard to get this funding up and running, and this would be a real kick in the teeth if we actually denied them this particular lot of funding, because we wouldn't have it without them. It wouldn't exist without them.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. I guess I support the original motion. I won't be supporting Councillor Duff's amendment simply because whether or not we did or did not get it, if we hadn't combined with the KCCI, if we had it, we may not have got the amount that we've got there in front of us now. So 180, 120 split with the combination of the council and the KCCI, in my view, enabled us to get a whole lot larger sum of money. So I think if you do your sums, this may be a more beneficial amount of money to disperse across the rest of the region than what possibly could have been available if you add all the businesses together. Now, Councillor Shoemaker indicated there was over 100 businesses alone in the Kingaroy CBD footprint. I would like to know what would be across our region, Wondai and Mergen, Blackbutt, Nanango, those sort of things. I think, yeah, so look, I'm not going to go into a long, drawn-out winded explanation. I fully support the chamber. I think it's a good move. It was a good outcome. They combined with council, and I think we all knew about it. And I fully support it. So we can go to the vote. Councillor Duff, do you want the right to reply before we go to the vote?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Jones, just wanted to say that I absolutely support the motion that the 300,000 or the amendment that 300,000 be allocated across to all businesses. I think that it's only fair because council is, these are commercial businesses, and to be fair to all businesses across the region, and to be equity, and just like I said, it would be a good news story, but otherwise I just don't think it's right.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. We've got the motion there. The amendment is moved by Councillor Duff, second by Councillor Jones, that in accordance with the approved grant budget, that 300,000 be allocated for all businesses across the South Logan to apply for. All those in favour? Councillor Duff, is it?
Yeah,
Mr.
that's right.
CEO, I'll get you to do the
Oh,
count.
sorry,
I
yeah.
can't see the-
Yeah, Councillor Duff was in favour. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Yeah. Those against?
For, against, rest against.
Okay, so the amendment has been defeated. We go back to the original motion, moved by Councillor Henson, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, that in accordance with the approved grant budget, that one, an allocation of 180,000 is made to the Kingaroy Chamber of Commerce and Industry for the delivery of the Kingaroy Facade Improvement Grant Program, and two, an allocation of $120,000 is made for the delivery of the South Burnett Regional Facade Improvement Scheme. Comments, councillor Henson, do you want any more comments before we go to the vote?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, just one. I would really like to see a full-blown media release on this that articulates Councillor Shoemaker's comments there before, so that the public have the actual full story to this, rather than some commentary on social media. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councillors, any further comments? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
There's 4, Deputy Mayor, Councillors Potter, Henson, Shoemaker and yourself.
Against?
And Councillor Duff against.
The original motion carried 4 votes to 1. Thank you. Hand you back over to the Mayor now.
Okay, thanks, Deputy Mayor Jones. Up to 19.3, fishing and infrastructure grant at 234. We have the recommendation there that the project plan be developed to install fish habitat infrastructure at BP Dam, and a variation is submitted to the Department of Ag to consider the project plan as an alternate project. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, secondly Councillor Potter. Any speakers? No? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. Okay, 19.4, Queensland Remembers Community Grants Program Round 2 at 235. Recommendation there is as presented, Council. In relation to items 1, 2, 3 on screen. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, second to Councillor Shoemaker. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you all. 20.1 is the Delegated Authority Reports 1 August to 31 August 2022 at 236. And the recommendation is that the Delegated Authority Report be received. Do we have a mover? Yes, Councillor Potter. Seconder, Councillor Erkins, thank you. Speakers? To the vote, those in favour? Carried unanimously. 20.2, list of correspondence pending completion of assessment report at 508. And the recommendation is that the list of correspondence pending completion of assessment report be received. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconded Councillor Duff. Speakers? No to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Mr CEO, I believe that concludes today's agenda. Thank you very much. Thank you all. It's been a big day. We will now call the meeting to a close at 5:31 p.m. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Jones.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Just before you close the meeting, I want to take us back to delegates at Cairns, and I know I've been thinking about this. I've had my opportunity. I've been to Canberra, and I've also been to conferences at LGAQ and had my opportunity. And I know that Councillor Henson and both Councillor Henson and Councillor Shoemaker are very passionate and keen to have an opportunity to speak and debate. So, if it was okay and suited the remainder of the chamber, I would forego my role as a delegate in Cairns in 2 or 3 weeks and hand that to Councillor Henson if he would like to take that opportunity, because I have had my opportunities already.
I'm going to hand over to Mr. CEO now. Thank you.
Yeah, I know he's going to tell me that he's sent it all through, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right, Deputy Mayor Jones. Pragmatically, the resolution isn't even mine. It's the resolution of the meetings, and the meeting owns the resolution. Now, if we were to change it at this stage, it would need the consent of the meeting, if I want to be technically correct. So if the meeting was of a mind, I would move a procedural resolution that we revisit point 2 of item 10.3 to remove Deputy Mayor Jones as and this is, I'm making this up pretty much as I go along now, because normally people don't do this at the end of the meeting, replace Deputy Mayor Jones as delegate to the LGAQ conference with Councillor Scott Henson.
Yes, so
But it would need the consent of the meeting to do that.
consent of the meeting. Okay, so procedural motion, Mr. CEO?
At best, I would think so, yeah. So, well, the procedure, sorry, yeah, I added two together there.
Yes.
The procedural resolution is that council, with the leave of the meeting, council revisits the decision of item 10.3, agenda item 10.3, recommendation 2.
Thank
And
you, Mr.
reopen the debate.
And reopen the debate. Yes.
Sorry for the misconvenience, Mr. CEO and Mayor. I thought it was appropriate. I should have addressed it earlier. Sorry, my apologies.
Oh, it's
And
fine by
reopen
me.
the
It's
deb-
just something
and
novel.
reopen
It's
it.
not one you get every day.
No, I just think that, look, the two councillor Shoemaker's spoken at conferences and that now, but she's very passionate. Councillor Henson notified this morning that she's across most of the energy and that sort of stuff. And I know Councillor Henson was keen to have a chance to speak at these conferences, and they're very good. I've spoken at the ALGA one, and I've also spoken before at the LGAQ, and it is a good opportunity. And look, to be fair, yeah, it's a good opportunity for councillors, and if they choose to run at the next election, it'll only stand them in good stead for in the future. So that's just my line of thinking.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Jones. You had to leave that to 5:31 p.m, didn't you?
Well, it shouldn't take too long, Mr. Mayor.
No.
I wouldn't think it's just a matter of,
Yes.
I do apologise.
Yes. So I'll move a procedural motion that council revisits the decision of agenda item 10.3 with the leave of the meeting and reopen the debate on item 2 of the recommendation. Do we have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Potter. To the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. So we'll now go back to item 10.3 to 10.3, item 2. Just do item 2, Mr. CEO.
So it would be then that, if that's the case, that Councillor Shoemaker and Councillor Henson be appointed as delegates and allocated 1 vote each, if that is the...
Yeah.
I would copy that, Kim, and we'll do it at... No, just item 2. Just item 2, and we'll do this. We'll marry up the minutes once we get out of here. So, but yeah, if we just deal with that as a standalone here now, please. So, if you just move Councillor Shoemaker to the front, not that it's in sequence, but just yeah, yes. I was actually thinking chronologically, but yes, both works. And Councillor Henson be appointed as delegates. I would actually add in there now given delegates to the LGAQ State Conference. So after delegates to the, so to avoid any confusion and allocate 1 vote each. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. So we have the motion as presented on screen. Do we have a mover? Yep, Councillor Jones has moved. Seconded, Councillor Potter. Speakers, Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just a question, I guess. There would be a certain, I guess not criteria, anticipation that the mayor / deputy mayor present represented by our council at these functions. And I guess if that being the case, certainly want to let it be known to the whole conference that our Deputy Mayor Jones is there in attendance, and the councillors are not just delegates because we're perhaps seen as being absent, or the Mayor, with all due respect, Mayor, to yourself and Deputy Mayor, could be perceived as not being there.
Yeah, Mr. CEO.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's the term delegate, and certainly can appreciate your concern, Councillor. The term delegate is so there's a couple of things. The debate and resolutions and and particularly the AGM, not that it's normally controversial or should I dare say at this late hour particularly exciting, but the formalities of the constitution of LGAQ is that council's obliged to appoint delegates by resolution. So Councillor Jones, myself and Councillor Erkins will be attending as observers, and the Mayor through diary conflicts and other issues now is unable to attend. We can certainly articulate that in the correspondence, that apology, particularly for the Mayor, and certainly it wouldn't be the first council that hasn't given the opportunity for, and particularly now that they're standing on their digs about only registered delegates can speak. It's not certainly the first time that councillors have, often CEOs get appointed as a delegate because there's an agenda item particularly that is relevant to them discussing on the floor. So yeah, I appreciate the concern, but I don't think any inference is taken from it at all, actually, at all.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
CEO, just 4 comments up there. I know a lot of the Western councils rotate their councillors around, and the mayors do exactly that. Mayors or deputy mayors, whatever, they're observers, and they give all their councillors an opportunity to speak at these conferences. So yeah, it's not uncommon at all.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly I learned it was important to be registered as a delegate last year. I had actually prepared extensive speaking notes and had worked up the courage to get up in front of all 77 councils and explain and discuss them. And a few moments before I actually presented, they declined somebody else the opportunity, and I basically found myself navigating chairs to find Mayor Nev Farrier from Banana Shire Council, who I had partnered with and we had already discussed the motion and had jointly put it forward to see if he would speak to it at the very last moment. So it was less than ideal, and to be fair, I think it should be open for any delegate of the conference. You pay enough to participate, to speak to the things that are relevant to your portfolio or your council, and I do think that's something that perhaps we should put forward to LGAQ. I understand the voting rights, but I do think it was, to be honest, quite ridiculous when you had different councillors wanting to speak to different things and they were actively declining them the opportunity. So I'm not really minded. I don't mind whether I speak or not. What I really do mind is that we have robust debate and we put our case forward, particularly in light of the decisions made today around the energy plan. I'm very passionate about making sure the South Burnett is set up for its future, and there are some big question marks I have for our region. So I just, fear some councils like to greenwash those things, and I don't think a council like ours can afford that. So that's my thinking on this. I just, think maybe we're overthinking it at the end of the day, and let's move on and go home.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yep. Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Anchin, delegates, thanks for coming. See you later.
Thanks very much. Councillor Jones, before we do wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to add at the last minute?
Someone can buy me a beer at any time they want. I've just about got the all clear. I should be, this should be my last meeting teamsing in, Mr. Mayor, to the general and everything else. So early October, I should be good to go and looking forward to getting back in the chamber.
Yes, we'll look forward to it. Thanks very much for teamsing in today. No, it is true. I can't wait to see you. You're going to be 6 inches taller. I know you told us that. We look forward to that. Okay, so we'll close the meeting at. Hang on, we're going to vote on this. Okay, sorry. So we'll vote. Let's go to the vote. Those in favour. Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, we'll close the meeting at 5:41. Thank you all for your participation today and have a great evening.